I am the daughter of the village head. I pursued Song, the educated youth, for 3 years before I finally married him. After we got married, I lavished him with good food and drink, and even spent money and effort to help him return to the city. But after he returned to the city, he clamoring the factory director's daughter for money and sent me a divorce notice. I couldn't take it, so I went to confront him, but he knocked me out and threw me into the river. My older brothers sought revenge for me and were also framed by him, ending up in prison. My parents, devastated by the loss of their children, drank DDT in despair. In the end, I was left with nothing but a broken family. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before my wedding. This time, I'm kicking Song the educated youth to the curb, focusing on the college entrance exam, and no longer subsidizing him. On the 29th of the 12th lunar month, the year end is here. And the commotion in the brigade courtyard is out of control. A male educated youth complained, "Why, when the farm distributes pork, the educated youths get big bones and offal, while the villagers get ham and lean meat? That's not fair. We want ham too." The old village head sighed, "Comrade, there are over 200 people in Yangshu village, each receiving 7 ounces of meat, while you educated youths get 1 pound each. Moreover, the meat is distributed by drawing lots, with each number being random, and it has always been fair." That's right, everyone came to draw lots, and some villagers even got offal. If a few educated youths have bad luck, what does that have to do with us? A villager said. A female educated youth sharply retorted, "Humph, you have more people, so missing a meal of meat doesn't matter. But we are educated youths, here to support rural construction, especially Song. He's a top student, not here to be bullied by you scoundrels." At the mention of Song, the villagers fell silent. Everyone looked at me helplessly. Someone sighed, "Alas, Xiao Ling from the village chief's family is definitely going to give in again." Seeing this familiar scene and hearing this familiar voice, I felt a chill run down my spine. I never expected that I would be reborn in the winter of 1976. In my past life, 5 or 6 educated youths were sent to the countryside and assigned to our village. Song Jiaming, the educated youth, was the fairest and most delicate looking, and I fell in love with him at first sight. As a naive teenager, I was smitten, instantly turning into a lovesick fool. I liked Song Jiaming and took care of him in every way, showing him kindness wherever I could. At the youth camp, conditions were poor, so I would work from dawn till dusk gathering wild vegetables, which I would then cook with preserved pork for him. My father was the village chief and could handle many matters. I pleaded with my father to arrange the best single room for Song Jiaming. On days when the farm had heavy work, I always assigned him to the village school to teach the children. In the winter, I was afraid he would be cold, so I begged my mother and sister-in-law to make him the thickest cotton quilts and mattresses. My older brother works as a chef in the county town, and my second brother works as a security guard there. Every month, they send their wages home. My older brothers doted on me, but I wheedled and pestered them into secretly spending half their wages on Jiaming Song, and I would go to the county town, treating him to meals at the state-run restaurant and buying all sorts of things at the supply and marketing cooperative. Despite his humble background, Song Jiaming was always the most presentable among the educated youth. Eventually, perhaps out of loneliness or simply accustomed to my devotion, Song Jiaming finally accepted my love and we got married. After marriage, Song Jiaming thrived in the village, and even my father recommended him to work as an accountant at the commune, freeing him from hard labor. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. In 1977, Song Jiaming's family from the city sent a letter. The letter said that as long as they could gather another 300 yuan, the Song family could arrange a job position for Jiaming Song, allowing him to return to the city. At first, my parents disagreed, fearing that once Jiaming Song returned to the city, he would abandon me. But Jiaming Song pleaded desperately, saying that his parents were ill and he had to return home to fulfill his filial duties. He also said that once he had established himself, he would come back to take me to the city with him. In truth, whether I could go to the city or not didn't matter to me, but I still gave in, worried that his parents' condition might worsen. So, I scrounged around for money, handing over all the savings from my older brother's wages, a total of 300 yuan, to Jiaming Song. After Jiaming Song left, I counted the days waiting for him every day. A few months later, I received a cold, impersonal letter from him. In the letter, he coldly declared that we were getting a divorce. He said he had never liked me, and even the marriage was something he was coerced into. In the countryside, marriage isn't officially registered, and without a marriage certificate, holding a banquet is considered sufficient. He unilaterally announced the divorce, Without a marriage certificate, I didn't even have a place to argue. It was like a bolt from the blue, and I became the laughingstock of the whole village. I fell seriously ill, and based on the return address, I cried my way into the city to find Song Jiaming, wanting to ask him in person. He arranged to meet me by the lake in the park. Upon meeting, he shamelessly declared that he had hooked up with the factory director's daughter, and I was no longer good enough for him. I couldn't accept it, so I raised my fist and hit him. Instead, he took the opportunity to knock me out, picked me up, and threw me into the lake. I couldn't swim, struggled in vain, and sank to the bottom forever. However, Song Jiaming was merely deemed to have acted in self-defense. Upon learning of this, the older brothers were furious and went to the factory to seek revenge on Song Jiaming. Instead, Song Jiaming fabricated false evidence and slandered them as gangsters from the underworld. At the time, the crackdown was in full swing, and my two brothers were sentenced to death. After my parents suffered the devastating blows of their daughter's drowning and son's imprisonment, they had nowhere to turn and eventually drank DDVP, choosing to end their lives. My once happy family ultimately met with ruin. The thought of this makes me seethe with anger. Thankfully, I was reborn, and this time, I will not repeat the same mistakes. At this moment, Song Jiaming looked at me indifferently, his eyes filled with disdain and arrogance. Today, when they were distributing pork, he had bad luck and only got a pound of liver, which he hated the most. He was inwardly dissatisfied but too proud to lower himself and ask the villagers nicely to exchange it. The other educated youths were standing up for him, which led to today's commotion. Song Jiaming stared at me for too long, and his sidekick, a bespectacled four-eyed educated youth, pointed directly at me. Xie Xiaoling, you tell us, how should the pork be divided? The educated youths were confident, knowing I was Song Jiaming's lapdog, and would definitely side with them. Throwing a tantrum to beg my father to redistribute the pork to the educated youths again, the villagers also frowned. As everyone knew my father was a doting father to his daughter, and would surely take my opinion, favoring the educated youths as he always did. Sure enough, my father said helplessly, "Daughter, what do you think we should do?" Everyone turned to look at me in unison. However, my response took everyone by surprise. "Dad, I think the educated youths are being unreasonable. We can't give them special treatment just because they are few in number. Drawing lots for meat is already fair. There's no need to change it." Everyone was shocked by these words. Even my father was surprised, doubting if he had heard wrong. He whispered, "Daughter, did you say that by mistake? All these years, haven't you always been on that Song boy's side?" The more my father said this, the more upset I felt. How fortunate it is now that I can live well and see these hard-working elders. I firmly reiterated, "Dad, you didn't hear wrong. The pigs are raised by the villagers. And the educated youths have always been disgusted by the filth and never went to the pigsty. Why should they demand the best cuts?" The villagers were all very happy to hear that. They supported me, saying, "Exactly." The notes were drawn randomly, and some villagers also got awful. The educated youths have already been treated quite well. At that moment, Li Ping, the female educated youth, stepped forward. She was furious. "Xie Xiaoling, have you been kicked in the head by a donkey? It's Song Jiaming, senior brother Song, who wants to trade for meat. He hasn't had meat in months. How can you bear to do this?" Seeing it was Li Ping, I felt even more disgusted. In a past life, Li Ping also had a crush on Song Jiaming, but her family was poor and her background was bad, so she was very self-conscious and didn't dare to express her love for Song Jiaming as boldly as I did. Because of this, Li Ping often taunted me, always calling me shameless. I would occasionally send Song Jiaming local eggs and wild vegetable soup, but he was very disdainful, neither initiating nor refusing, as if he were a phoenix in distress, reluctantly accepting my charity. Li Ping and Cyan always mocked me, saying I was a toad lusting after a swan. In the end, those egg drop soups still ended up in Li Ping and Cyan's stomachs. I guess I was the one who worked hard but got nothing in return. Caught between two sides. Looking back now, I was really foolish. I gave Li Ping a dirty look and said irritably, "If your ears aren't deaf, listen carefully. From now on, everything in the village must be distributed according to labor. The capable should work more, and those who work more should get more." I looked at Song Jiaming again. "Comrade Song, you got the liver. Maybe it's fate. Whatever's broken, you fix it. Right, you're saying I have a wicked heart." Song Jiaming's face turned red with anger. In the past, the hot-tempered me protected him in Yangshu village. No one in the village dared to bully him, not even speak harshly to him. Now, being scolded head-on by a village girl, he naturally couldn't save face. hardships breed troublemakers, you really are. Song Jiaming was furious but didn't dare to curse at the villagers, so he could only grab the pork liver and angrily leave the crowd, with the matter resolved. The villagers each carried their pork. Happily heading home to prepare for the new year, Li Ping and Si Yan blocked me in the middle of the road. Xian naturally opened his palm and extended it towards me. Xia Xiaoling, Jiaming and I are going to the county town in a few days. Can you lend us 10 yuan? In the past, these educated youths would borrow money from me in Jiaming's name, and it was never repaid. But today, I laughed in anger. Are you crazy? Why should I lend money to you? Do I look like a sucker to you? Li Ping got anxious again. Why? If it weren't for you, how could Brother Song go without meat? She threatened me. If you don't lend us money, we'll go on strike and never teach at the village school again. If Li Ping hadn't mentioned the village school, I wouldn't feel like slapping myself twice as hard. In fact, our Yangshu village has too few children of school age, only about 24 between the ages of 6 and 12, so we don't qualify to run a primary school. In the past, if the kids wanted to study, they had to climb 2 mountains to get to the commune primary school. But ever since Song Jiaming came to the village as an educated youth, I persuaded my father to reopen the village entrance school, and we arranged for the educated youths to take turns teaching the children for half a day each. This way, each educated youth would have 1 or 2 days a week to spend at the school without having to work in the fields. As for their teaching work points, the commune wouldn't approve them, so I used my own work points to cover for them. Those educated youths, especially Song Jiaming, were used to slacking off at school and became less enthusiastic about work. They would complain about being tired as soon as they arrived at the farm. My parents called me foolish, but they couldn't persuade me otherwise. As a result, I barely earned any work points throughout the year, relying entirely on my older brothers for support. Looking back now, I was really an idiot. At this moment, Li Ping threatening me with the school actually suits me just fine. I announced loudly, fine, since you don't want to teach, I officially inform you now, the village school is cancelled, and the children will go to the commune school from now on. As for you educated youths, there will be no more teaching work points, and you'll have to work in the farm like the villagers every day. Li Ping froze, and Si Yan also looked dumbfounded. Li Ping erupted in anger. Xia Xiaoling, are you crazy? You're not the village head. What right do you have to take away our teaching jobs? The educated youths were never good at productive labor, and they earned significantly fewer work points than the villagers on a regular basis. Without teaching jobs, they wouldn't earn a single extra cent, and their lives would only become more strained. My father finished his work and came over too. He was happier than anyone when he heard me announce that I would no longer subsidize the educated youth with work points. He said earnestly, comrades, there is indeed a regulation that our brigade doesn't have enough children to meet the qualifications for run a school. You can call the commune to verify this. Of course, if you truly love the children, you can still teach at the village entrance, but the commune won't issue you work points, and there's nothing I can do about that. As soon as my father spoke up, Li Ping and Si Yan had no choice but to back down and stop causing trouble. Li Ping pouted and said, if it's work, then it's work. I can still earn work points. Your whole village is illiterate, and I don't even want to teach them. She pulled Si Yan and stormed off in a huff. But there was one male educated youth who stood in the corner and didn't leave. He looked at me and my father, hesitating to speak. After a long pause, he finally spoke. Village head, Comrade Xia Xiaoling, please try again. The village entrance school cannot be closed. It was only then that I remembered this male educated youth was named Lin Mo. Lin Mo was the most low-key, quiet, and hardest-working educated youth in Yangshu village. He was so poor that the clothes and shoes he wore were old items given to him by villagers out of pity. Due to years of labor, his skin was dark, a healthy wheat color. He would never be like Song Jiaming, pale-faced, wearing a white shirt, black leather shoes, and slicking back his hair with shiny pomade. In his previous life, by the 1980s, many educated youths had returned to the city one after another. Only Lin Mo could not reach his parents, and there was no one at home to support him. Later, on a dark moonlit night, he jumped into the river to save a drowning child and lost his young life. What's even more heartbreaking is that it wasn't until 10 years later that Lin Mo's parents found Yangshu village and learned about his fate. The sorrow of seeing one's own child pass away before them is unbearable. When I think about it now, back when I was chasing Jiaming's song, many of the educated youths mocked, belittled, and looked down on me. But Lin Mo was the only one who never laughed at me. Once, after Jiaming's song rejected me, I ran up a mountain alone and cried. That night, It was Lin Mo who was on patrol duty in the mountains. He didn't say a word, just silently built a bonfire for me, escorted me down the mountain, and kept wild animals at bay. He's a good person, innocent. At this thought, I asked curiously, Lin Jiqing, why don't you want the school to close? Lin Mo paused and said earnestly, the children are too young. If they have to cross 2 mountains every day to get to the commune elementary school, the journey is too dangerous. Moreover, knowledge is invaluable. By studying in the village, they save time and can learn a lot. I raised an eyebrow. Since you're so noble, would you be willing to put your love into action and teach children to read for free every morning? Lin Mo with almost no hesitation, I'm willing. My father thought I was being too hard on him and quickly said, nonsense. If you teach in the morning, you'll only have half a day left for labor. How will you earn work points? The work points of educated youths are linked to wages, grain coupons, cloth coupons, and so on. If Lin Mo can't earn work points, he'll have trouble eating and living. Lin Mo shook his head. I can work a little faster and do more in the afternoons to support myself. Alright, as you said, you can go to the village school every morning and teach the children for free. I'll see how long this Lin Mo can last without work points. The next day was the 31st day of the lunar year, New Year's Eve. After lunch, instead of going to the farm, everyone stayed at the commune canteen to give the place a thorough cleaning in preparation for the new year. The villagers were in high spirits, working with great enthusiasm. The educated youths were in for a tough time. They were used to being lazy, but now they had to climb up and down, clean windows, wipe tables, wash shelves, scrub floors. Within just half a day, they were exhausted and dizzy. Just as we were finishing up, someone suddenly shouted, "Oh no, Li Ping has fainted." I quickly dropped the rag and ran over to check. In the crowd, Li Ping's face was pale, half lying on the ground, held in Song Jiaming's arms. I shouted, "It's clearly low blood sugar. Quick, give her some sugar water." The cafeteria had plenty of sugar and water. After drinking a bowl of sweet water, Li Ping's complexion returned to normal, and she regained her strength. Li Ping was fine, but Song Jiaming wouldn't let it go. Xie Xiaoling, it's all your fault. You knew Li Ping wasn't well. Why didn't you let us teach? Instead, you made us do a massive cleanup. If it had been before, whenever Song Jiaming got angry, I would have felt guilty and heartbroken, endlessly apologizing. But now, I'm completely confused. I snapped. Song Jiaming, the organization sent you to the countryside to train you, to contribute to socialism. If you slack off and complain every time you work, how dare you blame others? The villagers chimed in. Exactly. Are we rural folks just born to do hard labor while you educated youths are naturally superior and can't even sweep the floor? Seeing that public outrage had been stirred, Cyan quickly smoothed things over. Fellow villagers, don't be angry. Brother Song didn't mean it that way. He's just worried about Li Ping. Four Eyes added, Xie Xiaoling, exercise should be done gradually. Now that Li Ping has fainted, you can't just ignore it. I nodded. Of course, the village is very considerate. Li Ping can take a half day off without losing work points. Song Jiaming, you can ride the village's old bike to take Li Ping to the county hospital. Four Eyes' face lit up with joy and he gave Song Jiaming a meaningful look. See, I knew it. Xie Xiaoling still likes you and takes good care of you. Song Jiaming's expression softened considerably after hearing that. But the next second, I said firmly, Yangshu village doesn't support idle people. Li Ping's medical expenses will be deducted from Song Jiqing's work points. You're nothing short of Huang Shiren and Zhou Bapi. Song Jiaming was furious. This hypocrite wants a good reputation, but as soon as it comes to contributing money or effort, he's unwilling. Li Ping noticed and quickly stood up. With a touch of sadness, she said, no need to trouble senior brother Song. My health is fine, no need to go to the hospital. The issue has been resolved, and the big cleanup is almost over. My father came in from outside and announced some good news. Fellow villagers and educated youths, tonight is New Year's Eve. We'll start our holiday this afternoon. The canteen will be closed these 2 days. But educated youths can join the villagers for the New Year's Eve dinner. This is a long-standing tradition in Yangshu village. Every New Year's Eve, the village cadres take the lead and invite an educated youth to celebrate the New Year together at home. At this point, someone joked, do we even need to choose? The village chief's family will definitely pick Song Jiqing again. Cyan chimed in, needless to say, our senior brother Song is in for another feast. Can't be helped, Xie Xiaoling just loves to throw herself at him. Yes, following the usual custom, I would have shamelessly brought Song Jiaming to our house to assert my claim. Last year when Song Jiaming came for the New Year's Eve dinner, we brought out all the big fish and meat we had saved up for a whole year to treat him. I couldn't bear to eat the white rabbit candies and malted milk my older brothers bought from the city, so I gave them all to Song Jiaming. After the new year at our house, Song Jiaming would always leave with a lot of stuff, carrying big bags and bundles back to the commune the next day, although, he always acted like he was disliked, as if we were forcing these troubles on him. In the end, those nice things would be divided among the other commune members, while he earned a reputation for being noble and detached, just like in this life. As soon as the educated youth started teasing, he pulled a long face. As if being chosen by me was something to be ashamed of, I no longer looked at Song Jiaming, but said with a smile, "It's only right to take care of the educated youths. My father is the village head, so of course, he supports the policy." Amid the crowd, I raised my hand and pointed to an inconspicuous corner. "This year, the Xie family invites Lin Mo, the educated youth, to celebrate the new year together." As soon as the words were spoken, everyone was stunned. People looked around, searching for Lin Mo's figure. Many whispered, "Didn't Xiaoling always like Song Jiaming? Why would she choose Lin Mo? What's the big deal? Lin Jiqing is more outstanding and reliable. It's perfectly normal for Xiaoling to switch her affections to someone else." The onlookers whispered among themselves, and Song Jiaming's face grew increasingly grim. Lin Mo, however, sat quietly in the corner, silently wiping the table. Lin Mo was always quiet and kept his head down, working like a mute. 3 years ago, when he first arrived in Yangshu village, the locals found him aloof and hard to approach. Every new year, all the other educated youths were taken home, leaving Lin Mo to spend the holiday alone, on duty. But today, when he heard me invite him to spend the new year at my home, his eyes widened in surprise and he looked at me with joy. It was the first time I noticed that, though he wasn't the kind of pretty boy like Song Jiaming, his eyes were bright and clear, with distinct whites and irises, beautiful like stars, in his eyes. Besides surprise, there was also a faint trace of shyness. I suddenly found him much cuter than Song Jiaming. When they saw me choose Lin Mo, a few of the educated youths were displeased. Xian accused me, "Xie Xiaoling, how fickle can you be? You liked Senior Song yesterday, and now you like Lin Mo." I found it amusing. They didn't really care who I liked. What they care about is that if Song Jiaming doesn't come to my house for the new year, the other villagers are all poor, and they won't be able to profit from it. Only by coming to my house can Song Jiaming eat, take, and even give to his classmates. Who I like is none of your business. I decided to clarify. I treat every educated youth equally, so, I absolutely will not like Song Jiaming. I rolled my eyes at Song Jiaming. Some educated youths, relying on their education, look down on working people, deliberately putting on airs and slacking off. I can't stand them. Only a dog would like him. As soon as I said that, the villagers all laughed, as if my brain had finally returned to normal and I was no longer love-struck. Xian and Li Ping, however, were fuming, standing up for Song Jiaming. "Xie Xiaoling, why do you dislike senior brother Song? How can you not like him?" Song Jiaming was utterly humiliated. He quickly intervened. "Enough, shut up. Mind your own business." He seemed to have shaken off the trouble and said lightly, "Xie Xiaoling has been chasing me for so long, and I've always rejected her. It's only natural for her to avoid any appearance of impropriety with me. This year, I'll spend the new year at the village secretary's house." With a cold expression, he left the cafeteria. This person really knows how to paint themselves in a good light. I've already clarified, and I can't be bothered to argue with him. I walked up to Lin Mo, smiling warmly as I extended my hand. "Lin Jiqing, let's go home together for the new year." Lin Mo's face turned even redder, and he hesitated for a long time before reaching out. After being shy for a while, he finally whispered, "Thank you, Comrade Xiaoling." Although Lin Mo agreed to come to my house, he was very stubborn. He insisted on going back to the commune to change clothes, and only in the evening did he arrive at our house carrying 2 bags. My home is in the countryside, not as luxurious as the city, but it's very clean, cozy, and lively with lots of people, creating a warm and bustling atmosphere. When Lin Mo arrived home, his older and second brothers were also on break, busy pasting couplets at the door. My mother and sister-in-law were in the kitchen, busy cooking, stewing meat, and frying meatballs, filling the entire courtyard with delicious aromas. My older brother's children, Baodan and Baoya, were playing and fighting in the yard, both eager to eat candy. Lin Mo is very introverted, wanting to help but feeling very awkward. When the older brothers saw him, they were clearly a bit surprised. The eldest brother said naively, "Little sister, why did you invite that male educated youth again? That Song fellow is arrogant, Don't keep trying to warm up to him, I quickly explained to them. Don't talk nonsense. I've never liked any song Educated Youth. This is Lin Mo, Lin Educated Youth. And we are completely innocent. Big brother realized he had mistaken someone and quickly apologized. Oh, I'm so sorry, look at my memory. Second brother also laughed. No wonder. This Lin Jiqing is more handsome, taller, and in better physical shape, much better than that weakling surnamed Song. Once the misunderstanding was cleared up, Lin Mo felt much more at ease. He generously said, Big brother, second brother, let me help you put up the couplets. I stopped him. Lin Mo. You're my guest, how can I let you do work? I pulled him into the courtyard. Seeing this, my mother and sister-in-law quickly brought out crispy pork and meatballs to warmly entertain Lin Mo. This treatment is way better than mine. Lin Mo saw my father coming out and quickly opened the bag in his hand. Village head, Auntie, these are the New Year gifts I brought for you. Lin Mo really had a thoughtful heart. He was too poor to afford gifts. So what he gave were wild tea leaves and tobacco leaves he had personally picked in his spare time. There was even the pork he had just received yesterday. Even my little niece and nephew, Lin Mo, got them illustrated comic books of Journey to the West. My father, my older and second brothers enjoy smoking dried tobacco, while my mother and sister-in-law like brewing tea. These gifts truly hit the mark with them. My father happily said, Little Lin, you're too polite, just come, there's no need to bring gifts. Lin Mo replied, Village chief, my parents taught me from a young age that I shouldn't take advantage of the villagers, and that we must reciprocate. Please accept them, otherwise, I won't be able to enjoy this meal. I didn't expect Lin Mo to be so principled. Seeing his sincerity, I acted with grace and let my parents accept the gifts. All right. Come inside, wash up, and let's eat. The whole family pitched in, and soon, dishes like stewed pork, wild vegetable and egg soup, dumplings, fried lotus rolls, fried chicken pieces, and steamed pork filled the table. Although there's one more person in the house, the atmosphere is very harmonious. Last year, I was so busy serving food to Song Jiqing that my parents felt it wasn't worth it, but this year is different, many delicious dishes, and before I could even try them, my parents treated Lin Mo like a son-in-law, piling the biggest pieces of meat into his bowl. I was feeling competitive and wanted to snatch the meat from Lin Mo's bowl. My mother didn't hesitate to tap my hand with her chopsticks, shouting, Girls should eat with more restraint, don't stretch your chopsticks too far. I felt so wronged. Dad, Mom, do you love me less now that you have Lin Jiqing? My mother laughed. Look at Lin Jiqing. Such a handsome and polite young man. Hardworking and capable. What do you have to compare with him, you silly girl? Everyone praised Lin Mo, and Lin Mo himself felt a bit embarrassed. While my parents weren't looking, he quietly slipped a big piece of meat into my bowl. He smiled. I can't eat all of this by myself. Humph, you're smart. I dug in without hesitation. After dinner, Lin Mo rushed to the kitchen to wash the dishes. After cleaning up, he shared a room with my second brother. The house had a heated, which was very cozy. Before going to bed, I reminded my second brother not to bully Lin Jiqing. My second brother is a sharp one. He could tell I had a special feeling for Lin Mo. He was a bit jealous and teased me. Oh, a girl grows up and can't be kept at home. To counter his teasing, I gave him a swift no-look chokehold. The next day, I rarely slept in and got up early. Big brother, second brother, and Lin Mo were even up earlier than me. I quietly asked second brother, Last night, you didn't bully Linda, did you? Second brother huffed. Of course not. We exchanged a lot of knowledge. Linda truly lives up to being from the capital. He has so much insight. Alright. After a night of conversation, second brother has become a die-hard fan of Lin Mo. After washing up, Lin Mo sincerely paid his New Year's greetings to every member of my family. My parents were so delighted that they even gave Lin Mo a red envelope, which contained at least 10 yuan. My mother also prepared 2 big bags of New Year's goods for Lin Mo to take back to the Educated Youth point. I was shocked and protested. Dad, Mom, in the past, if you could give me 2 cents as a New Year's gift, that was already pretty good. My dad deliberately scolded me. Why don't you calculate how much money you gave that Song guy over the past 2 years? I said. Forget it, a true man doesn't dwell on past foolishness. But in the end, Lin Mo still didn't accept the New Year's goods my mother prepared. Not only that, but he handed me all the hefty red envelopes right in front of my parents. I was overjoyed and proudly told my parents, see, mine is mine, and Lin Mo's is mine too. Hee hee. After saying that, I tightly clutched the red envelopes, took my nephew and niece, and ran out to pay New Year's visits to our relatives. My parents sighed, this girl, she's still so unruly. I glanced back and saw Lin Mo smiling softly. Looking at me intently, in his eyes, there seemed to be a deep, heart-stirring affection. That evening, I saw Lin Mo back to the educated youth dormitory. On the way, I asked him, Lin Mo, why didn't you take the New Year's goods my mother gave you? Lin Mo shook his head. The village chief and auntie have worked hard all year. I still have some dried bread in my dormitory, enough to last until the canteen opens. Besides, Lin Mo hesitated for a moment before saying, Xiaoling, those things, according to previous years, were actually prepared for Song Jiqing, weren't they? I was in a good mood, but suddenly I felt a bit wronged. Lin Mo, what do you mean? I've told you, I have nothing to do with Song Jiqing anymore. Even you misunderstand me and make fun of me. Overwhelmed with sadness, I turned my back to him and couldn't help but wipe away my tears. Lin Mo panicked instantly and quickly apologized. Xiaoling, I'm sorry, it wasn't on purpose, I was just a bit jealous. So I blurted it out. What are you jealous of? I asked knowingly. Lin Mo became too afraid to answer. In these times, silence is golden, and promises even more so. I stopped pressuring him and changed the subject. I laughed through my tears and said, Lin Mo, you came to my house for the new year, bringing a whole circle of gifts, tea, comic books, and more. I deliberately turned my palm up and said, where's my gift? Why don't I have one, under the cold, proud moonlight? Lin Mo looked at me intently, hesitating to speak. I pouted, fine, if you won't see me off, I'm not that petty. Just as I was about to leave, Lin Mo suddenly grabbed my hand. In the next moment, something hard but warm appeared in my palm. It was wrapped in brown paper and emitted a faint orchid scent. It's soap. In the countryside where people still use lye soap to wash their faces, this is quite a rarity. I was overjoyed. Lin Mo, where did you get the soap? Lin Mo blushed and told me. Last Mid-Autumn Festival. When we all went to the county town, I saw you wanted it at the supply and marketing cooperative, but you didn't buy it. At that time, I happened to have 2 yuan on me, so I bought it. After purchasing it, he has kept it until now. My eyes welled up. I certainly remember the Mid-Autumn Festival half a year ago. That day, I shamelessly tagged along with the educated youth as they explored the county town. I spent all the money I had saved over the year on Song Jiqing, treating him and others like Cyan and Li Ping to meals, and even buying him mooncakes from the supply and marketing cooperative. Later, I wanted to buy a Shanghai brand soap, only to find I had no money left on me. Little did I know, Lin Mo had been watching everything. The soap had always been brand new, carefully wrapped in brown paper. No one knows how long he has been hiding. Lin Mo, do you like? The last word hadn't even left her mouth when a burst of laughter interrupted her. Xia Xiaoling, you really don't care, do you? Since Brother Song dumped you, you've turned your attention to Lin the educated youth. Such a harsh voice. No doubt it's Cyan, Li Ping, and the others. These educated youths had just returned from celebrating the new year with the villagers. Seeing their sallow complexions, it seems they didn't have much of a feast this new year. Cyan gave Lin Ma a thorough once-over, noticed his empty hands, and laughed even louder. Lin Mo, you stayed at the village chief's house for 2 days. How come you didn't get anything out of it? You came back empty-handed, Li Ping added. They like senior brother Song. Lin Mo is just a backup. Of course, they treat him differently. If there's anything good, it's definitely reserved for senior brother Song. When Song Jiqing heard this, a sneer appeared on his face, as if it were a matter of course for him to maintain his aloofness. Lin Mo's expression, however, became somewhat embarrassed. I complained, my parents, and even my brother, all like Lin Jiqing and treat him like family. He can come to my house for meals anytime. Of course he doesn't need to pack anything. This implies that Song Jiqing has always been the outsider. Embarrassed, Song Jiqing frowned and said, Xia Xiaoling, aren't you just mad because I didn't accept you? There's no need to deliberately get close to that Lin guy just to spite me. I impatiently said, Song Jiqing, narcissism is a disease. You need to get it treated. Listen up. I'm protecting Lin Mo from now on. No one is allowed to bully him. Song Jiqing was a bit annoyed. Xia Xiaoling, I never cared for the things you gave me. I can go to the county town myself tomorrow. I shielded Lin Mo behind me. What a coincidence. We're also going to the county town tomorrow, shopping for everything. Li Ping, however, was quite disdainful. As soon as senior brother Song mentioned going to the county town, you immediately said you're going too, and you claim you don't like senior brother Song. What a manipulative girl. Cyan chimed in. Exactly. When we get to the county town, Xia Xiaoling, you must treat us to a meal at the state-run restaurant. I had a sudden idea and chuckled. The state-run restaurant. The food is indeed good, feel free to order whatever you like. The half sentence I didn't finish was that they could order as much as they wanted, but who pays for the meal is not certain. The next day, we set off early in an ox cart to the county town. Last night, I decided on the spur of the moment to go to the county town, and I thought Lynn Mo would refuse. To my surprise, Lynn Mo readily agreed. When we arrived in town, the educated youths split up to carry out their tasks. And it was then that I learned Lynn Mo was here to buy books. The books at the village school are several years old, too outdated. Let's buy more so we can teach them middle and high school subjects in the future. Lynn Mo was making plans. To my surprise, he genuinely loves reading and sincerely wants to help the village children. I suddenly realized that after the new year, it was already 1977, and the most important event of that year was the resumption of the college entrance exam. For every young person, whether they are an educated youth, a worker, or a rural youth, this is the best opportunity to change their fate. I gave him half the money I had on me. Lynn Mo, consider this money as a loan from me. Buy more high school books. When it comes to buying books, Lynn Mo is very tempted. He has no reason to refuse me. After all, with the money he has now, he can only afford middle school textbooks. Xiao Ling. Thank you, he said emotionally. I waved my hand and pointed to the supply and marketing cooperative next to the bookstore. I don't know anything about books. I'm going next door to buy candy for Baodan and Baoya. Come find me at the supply and marketing cooperative after you're done buying your books. During the new year, people are visiting relatives and friends, so there aren't many people at the supply and marketing cooperative. Before leaving, my parents, hearing that I was going to the county town with Lynn Mo, generously gave me 20 yuan, which was more than enough for my shopping spree. I bought milk candy, egg cakes, and toys for my nieces and nephews. Most importantly, I also bought a military coat for Lynn Mo. After buying books, Lynn Mo had been waiting for me at the supply and marketing cooperative entrance. When he saw me coming out with the military coat, he was completely stunned. Lynn Mo, it's only fair to reciprocate. This is my New Year's gift for you, I said proudly. Is this really for me? He asked, unable to believe it. I smiled. Of course, everyone needs new clothes for the new year. You're our elementary school teacher, and you don't even get paid. It would be unacceptable for you to keep wearing that old padded jacket. Lynn Mo lowered his head. His old padded jacket was thin, with several patches, and he felt a bit embarrassed. I handed him the military coat. Don't worry, my parents agreed too, so, go ahead and put it on so I can see. I put the cotton padded coat on him. He was naturally thin, and with the new coat, he looked very spirited, more handsome than all the other educated youths. So handsome, I stared at him intently. Lynn Mo blushed again, and he said solemnly, thank you all, I will save money. His words were cut short by a shout. It was Li Ping, the educated youth. Xia Xiaoling, why are you still at the supply and marketing cooperative? Hurry to the state-run restaurant. Song and the others are waiting for you. We're all frantic. As soon as I arrived at the state-run restaurant, I knew what was going on. As I expected, those educated youths really came for a feast. They ordered a full table of delicious dishes, steamed large carp, twice-cooked pork, kung pao chicken, big meat dumplings. They all thought, as per the usual routine, that as long as Song Jiaming beckoned, I would eagerly foot the bill for them. But today, after they had eaten and wiped their plates clean, I still hadn't shown up. And they started to panic. It wasn't until the state-run restaurant server started urging them to settle the bill that they sent Li Ping to the supply and marketing cooperative to look for me. At the moment, the server was standing with hands on hips, scolding them like a strict grandfather. You young men, you look refined, probably all educated youths, right? Why have you been sitting here for so long after finishing your meal without paying? Other customers are waiting to be seated in order. Which brigade are you from? Don't tell me you're trying to eat without paying. Among the crowd, Song Jiaming listened to the scolding, his head lowered, his face full of shame. Sion breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Li Ping had brought me along. He pointed at me and shouted, we are educated youth, cultured people, how could we dine and dash? See, the one paying is here. The waiter looked at me suspiciously. I calmly turned out all the pockets of my clothes and pants. Needless to say, it's spotless inside. And I've spent all the money at the supply and marketing cooperative, I said helplessly. Sister waitress, take a look. My pockets are as empty as my face. Where would I get the money to pay for their bill? These big men are eating without paying, and they expect me, a female comrade, to foot the bill. How shameless. When I said that, the educated youths became even more anxious. They came to work in the countryside, and their daily behavior is recorded. If they eat without paying, it will leave a stain in their records. Li Ping was pacing back and forth in a panic. When she saw the coat on Lin Mo, her eyes lit up. Li Ping pointed at Lin Mo and said, "Xia Xiaoling, how could you possibly be broke? Where did Lin Mo get the money to buy that military coat? Did you give it to him?" Seeing the military coat on Lin Mo, Song Jiaming was stunned. It was only now that he truly believed I had really fallen for someone else and started treating Lin Mo well. After all, that military coat was bought with hard-earned money. Song Jiaming stood up and walked in front of me. He finally lowered his arrogant head. He interrogated me. "Xia Xiaoling, would you rather give the money to Lin Mo than help me? This time, even if I'm borrowing it from you, hee. If only you had known this day would come, why did you act that way back then?" I rejected without hesitation. Song Jiaming, Li Ping, it's not that I don't want to lend you money, but I really don't have any left. It's all spent. You're educated youth from Yangshu village, and if the village finds out about this, everyone will lose face. How about this? Try to pool some money together yourselves, and if you still can't make it, you can spend a day washing dishes here. I deliberately called them by their full names and mentioned Yangshu village on purpose. Now, the diners in the restaurant and the onlookers outside all knew the background of these young intellectuals. "Xia Xiaoling, you did this on purpose." Li Ping was furious. Song Jiaming was being pointed at, almost hiding his face under the table. Good news doesn't leave the house, but bad news travels far and wide. It won't take a day before their glorious act of dining and dashing is reported across the entire commune. The worst part is, if they don't pay up, the restaurant will call the police. There's no choice. The young educated youths can only accept their fate and each pulls out their hidden stash of private money. After pooling everything together, they still come up short by 10 yuan, after much persuasion. The restaurant staff finally relented and agreed to let them work off their debt by washing dishes for a day. Meanwhile, while Song Jiaming and Li Ping were washing dishes, Lin Mo and I had already set off on our way home. On the way back to the village, I sang folk songs with great joy. We ambled along, and only reached the village entrance as the sun was setting. Lin Mo insisted on taking me home first. I waved my hand. "Don't worry, I have a loud voice. If anyone dares to have bad intentions towards me, I just need to shout, and all the dogs in the village will start barking." But he still insisted, "But you're still a girl, you need to be careful." I joked. "Lin Mo, you care so much about me, could it be that you like me?" Lin Mo looked at me deeply this time. He wasn't shy or evasive. Suddenly, he said to me very seriously, "Yes, Xia Xiaoling, I like you, I want to date you. Let's get married." At that moment, I was stunned. Clearly, he had given serious thought to our relationship. He not only considered dating but also directly thought about getting married. He wants to take responsibility for me. What a great person he is. In my past life, why didn't I notice him? If it were the old me, without a doubt, I would have boldly embraced him and gone into the cornfield with him. But now, I know, Lin Mo is intelligent, knowledgeable, talented, and capable. A youth like him should not be buried in the countryside. In his previous life, he died a heroic death by drowning, but in this life, I must ensure he lives well. Moreover, I want him to make up for the regret of not being able to reunite with his parents in his previous life. The only way to change one's fate right now is to take the college entrance exam. So, I deliberately made things difficult for him. "Lin Jiqing, I'm not the kind of girl who makes decisions lightly. If you like me, write to your parents and get their approval. Only after the traditional 3 can I marry you." When Lin Mo heard that I was willing to date him, his eyes lit up, but when I mentioned his parents, his eyes visibly darkened. He said sadly, "I'm sorry, but my parents went missing before I went to the countryside. I don't know where they are. Their health wasn't good, and they might no longer be in this world." He continued, "But Xiaoling, don't worry, I want to marry you, not because you're the village chief's daughter, or because your brother works in the county town, but because I only like you. In the future, I'll stay in the village, and we'll go to the commune to register and get our marriage certificate. Even though my parents might be gone, I'll work hard to earn money and give you all my work points, wages, grain coupons, and cloth coupons." What he said wasn't romantic, but it was the most sincere and touching. I couldn't help but say, "No, you can't stay in the village forever. You need to go to the city and find your parents. Your parents aren't dead, they're alive and well, working in scientific research." Lin Mo asked me in surprise, "How do you know?" I almost slipped up, so I quickly covered. "I guessed. Didn't you say your parents are physics professors? Our satellites are made in Jiuquan, Gansu, so they must be working on something secret." Lin Mo said with a wry smile, "You might be wrong about that. As far as I know, Many of the research projects over there have been suspended, idiot. Many projects are conducted in secret, so of course, the common people don't know about them. The country would never abandon scientific research. But now, even if I tell Lin Mo, he wouldn't believe it. I urged him anxiously, no matter what, you must keep studying and aim for college to carry on your parents' aspirations. I encouraged him. The man I like can't be downhearted. I admire educated youth with ideals and ambitions. Lin Mo, you will definitely move to the city and become a cultured person. Lin Mo gave a wry smile. But Xiao Ling, the college entrance exam has been suspended for 10 years. I grew even more anxious. No, maybe it will resume this year. The college entrance exam will definitely be restored. As long as we prepare wholeheartedly, we can seize the opportunity and get into college. Lin Mo chuckled. Xiao Ling, how did you know? I pretended to be angry. I know, I just know. So, from now on, we'll study together, and you have to teach me to read. I made a bet with him. Let's study hard for a year. No matter if the college entrance exam is reinstated or not, I'll marry you a year from now. Otherwise, I'll never marry you. Lin Mo immediately panicked. Xiao Ling, I promised to study with you. Isn't that enough? You can't not marry me. I finally laughed out loud. Lin Mo, you must keep your word. Lin Mo was a bit excited, gripping my hand tightly. He asked me, as if in a dream, what were we during that year when you came to school to see me? I gently hugged him. Silly, of course we were dating. Lin Mo held me tightly. Xiao Ling, thank you for choosing me. Don't worry, I will love and protect you dearly from now on. It was only at this moment that I realized, by letting go of one tree, there are still so many forests behind me. Choosing the right person is such a wonderful and happy thing. The next day, the commune indeed called the brigade to specifically criticize Song Jiaming, Li Ping, and the other educated youths who had eaten without paying. Yesterday, they went bankrupt, paid off the meal money, and washed dishes at the state-run restaurant all day until late at night, only to return to the village in disgrace. This incident is so humiliating. It's an indelible black mark in history. During the new year the educated youths dared not go out, fearing being pointed at and gossiped about. Therefore, they hate me and Lin Mo even more. To protect Lin Mo, I applied to the village to have him move out of the educated youth camp and into the dormitory at the village entrance school. I wanted Lin Mo to focus on his studies, but more importantly, I wanted him to focus on teaching me. The dormitory was converted from an old cow shed, wired for electricity. And I added quite a few wooden furnishings and new bedding. At night, with the kerosene lamp lit, it really had the atmosphere of studying late into the night. After the new year, spring plowing followed, and the farm work was heavy. Lin Mo and I would often be exhausted after finishing our tasks. In the evenings, I would study, but several times I was so tired I could barely keep my eyes open. Lin Mo felt sorry for me and closed the book, not wanting to teach me anymore. He persuaded me. Xiao Ling, you're not going to be a teacher, so you don't need to work so hard studying with me. In the future, my work points will be yours, and I'll take care of you. Lin Mo is great, and I know he wouldn't deceive me, but after experiencing the pain of my past life, in this one, I only want to rely on myself. That's the eternal security. So, I shook my head. Lin Mo, I'm not suffering. If I can't endure hardship now, it will only get harder in the future. So, I need to study. Please don't be soft on me. Lin Mo held my hand tightly, his heart aching as he said, all right, once spring warms up a bit, we'll study an extra hour every night. And so, we studied intensively, and by the summer, 4 months later, I had completed the middle school curriculum. It must be said that although I had agreed to be in a relationship with Lin Mo, during study sessions, Lin Mo would turn into a strict scholar, very serious. We would at most hold hands, never daring to cross the line, but in the eyes of outsiders. My nightly visits to Lin Mo's dorm were indeed improper, especially Cyan and Liping. They spread rumors everywhere, saying I was indiscreet and had secretly pledged my life to Lin Mo in a small cabin. Anyway, the reputation of me liking to cling to educated youths has been around for years, so I don't care about these few months. But my parents couldn't sit still and insisted that Lin Mo give an explanation. That night, after dinner, I still went to study with Lin Mo. We were studying English when the dormitory door suddenly burst open. My mother and sister-in-law came in, their faces ashen. But when they saw me and Lin Mo sitting far apart at opposite ends of the table, each holding a high school English textbook, they were momentarily stunned. Xiao Ling, how come, you're really studying? I looked up at the sky helplessly. Mom, didn't I tell you? I want to learn knowledge from Lin the educated youth. My father and 2 older brothers finally came in. Seeing the full table of textbooks and scratch paper, they were all stunned. My second brother, who had finished middle school, was unwilling to give up. He opened a book and tested me with a few problems. I answered everything fluently. Xiaoling, why did you suddenly decide to study? Asked second brother. Puzzled, I said angrily, Father, Mother, why can't I study? Do you want me to be illiterate? Unable to defend myself when bullied, big brother said naively, Xiaoling, if anyone dares to bully you, I'll beat them up. I said with teary eyes, Big brother, you work as a chef in the county town, and second brother, you work as a security guard in the factory. You look impressive, but you don't even have a labor contract. Just because you can't read, you only get half the pay others do. You're being taken advantage of yourselves. How can you protect me? Big brother and second brother froze. Not saying a word, they always reported good news but never the bad. The hardships they faced in the city were known only to them. Finally, my father sighed and spoke up, Xiaoling, it's good that you have ambition. Your father doesn't object. He turned to Lin Mo. Comrade Lin, I only have one daughter. Now she's constantly going to your place. There must be an explanation for this. Lin Mo spoke frankly, village head, Auntie, I've always liked Xiaoling, and she has agreed to be in a relationship with me. I am pursuing her with the intention of marriage and will never let her down for the rest of my life. My father nodded, serious. After all, you are a city intellectual youth. What if the policy changes one day and you have to return to the city? What will happen to Xiaoling? Lin Mo said firmly, I will take Xiaoling to the city with me. If I can't be with Xiaoling, I'd rather stay in Yangshu village for the rest of my life. My father didn't say anything, but I knew he agreed, finally. He said with a sigh, a daughter grows up and can't be kept at home. You two, hurry up and discuss, and get the wedding arranged. Me and Lin Mo exchanged a smile. This hurdle, we had passed. The next day, no one gossiped about us anymore, because my family was very satisfied. They said Lin Mo and I were dating, and that Lin Mo was an educated person who had taught me a lot. They even threatened that if anyone dared to gossip again, they would sit in their yard and cause a ruckus for 3 days and 3 nights. It's normal for a man and a woman to date when they're both unmarried, and over time, no one pays attention anymore. Many of the educated youths mocked me for being humble, carrying books around every day, pretending to be cultured just to win favor with Lin. They simply didn't believe that knowledge would ever be useful in the future. 3 more months passed. Autumn ended, and winter arrived. I had gained even more knowledge. By October, there was finally some good news from above. Comrades, fellow villagers, the college entrance exam has been reinstated. As soon as the village received the official notice from the commune, my father announced it right away. Everyone was shocked and excited, especially the educated youths, who were all very thrilled. However, the official exam is in November, leaving only a month, which is far from enough time to review. The educated youths were all anxious and asked around for review materials. The educated youths in the city got the good news earlier than those in the countryside. They had the advantage and had already snapped up all the books. The educated youths in Yangshu village all thought of me, as everyone knows, over the past year. Only Lin Mo and I have been diligently studying. Li Ping was extremely envious, but in front of me, her tone remained haughty. Xia Xiaoling, did you know long ago that the college entrance exam was going to be reinstated? How could you be so selfish and not tell us at all? I spread my hands and smiled. How would I know such top secret information? I study only because I have a heart that loves learning and craves progress. What could I possibly be wrong about? It makes sense, though. How could I, a simple village girl, possibly know about such state secrets in advance? Li Ping wasn't willing to give up and asked Lin Mo, Lin, since we're all educated youth, could you lend us your books to take a look? She knew Lin Mo was introverted and would likely give in, so she emphasized your. Lin Mo, however, first glanced at me before answering Li Ping. Sorry, these books were bought by Xiaoling with her own work points. You can ask Xiaoling to borrow them. When it comes to our family matters, Xiaoling makes the decisions. The educated youths all looked at me with envy. Hearing Lin Mo say that, I felt warm inside. We're not even married yet, and he's already referring to us as our family and letting me take charge. Even my father, who was standing nearby, gave Lin Mo an approving look. Only Li Ping was deeply disappointed, and Si Yan felt utterly defeated. They've never been on good terms with me, often mocking me in the past, so naturally, they're afraid I won't lend it to them. But now, studying is more important than pride, so they have no choice but to come to me humbly and ask. Seeing Li Ping silent, Xian had to ask me, Xia Xiaoling, can you lend me your books to take a look? I've already memorized those books inside out, so of course, I can lend them out. However, I'm not a saint, and I don't like to be taken advantage of. I still want to stand up for myself regarding past events, I deliberately said. The books can certainly be lent, but I'm the kind of person who responds to kindness rather than force. Those of you who mocked and gossiped about me and Lin Mo in the past must formally apologize to me before we can call it even. Lin Mo naturally didn't care about others' opinions of him, but I insisted on seeking justice, so he let me have my way. The educated youths all fell silent, some felt ashamed, others anxious, but soon, between knowledge and pride, they still chose knowledge, after all. I didn't ask for anything unreasonable, just a simple word from them. A female educated youth took the lead and said, Xiaoling, we're sorry, we were too narrow-minded before, please forgive us. Then, the other educated youths also began to apologize. Finally, even Xian bowed his head and said, Xie Xiaoling, you're magnanimous enough to forgive us men, please forgive us, even if it means I have to spend money to buy books. I smiled sweetly, sure, let bygones be bygones. If you want to read any books, just take them from the school, it's completely free. It turned out to be so simple, and they even lend books for free. The educated youths were all convinced and happily gathered around me to discuss. At this moment, it seemed like there were no more barriers between us, but only two people had very bad expressions and refused to join the discussion. One was Li Ping, the other was Song Jiaming. Especially Song Jiaming, whose face was ashen. He clearly wanted to borrow the book, but he just couldn't bring himself to ask. He looked at me arrogantly, as if all it took was a flick of his fingers for me to throw myself at him and hand over the books. Unfortunately, I didn't even bother with him. Now, I see Song Jiaming as nothing more than trash. Even a glance is too much. Seeing Song Jiaming staring at me, Lin Mo, usually so mild-tempered, became unusually serious. Lin Mo spoke up, Comrade Song. You've misunderstood my partner multiple times. If you apologize to my partner, we can lend you books. Your partner. Song Jiaming's face turned pale. Seeing the close bond between Lin Mo and me, Song Jiaming suddenly became furious. Humph. Back in school, I was always at the top of my class, even without books. I'm sure I can pass the university entrance exam and leave this godforsaken place. With that, Song Jiaming stormed off in a huff. I found it amusing, though, in my previous life. Song Jiaming also didn't get into college. He returned to the city by buying a job. The college entrance exam is like walking a tightrope for thousands of people. Why should fate favor those who don't study hard? Even my illiterate parents understand this, but Song Jiaming doesn't. The next day, after discussing with the village secretary, my father arranged for all the educated youths and village young people preparing for exams to have half a day off each day, dedicated to studying. Especially for me, my father stopped letting me earn work points and sent me to Lin Mo's house every day. Unlike the educated youths who signed up for the exam, I was the only rural girl, the hope of the entire village. Finally, November arrived, and so did the day of the exam. The whole village took it very seriously. My father, worried we might be late, borrowed a tractor from the commune to take everyone to the exam. On the day of the exam, it was extremely cold and snowing. But everyone was very happy and excited. The heavier the snow falls in the countryside, the thicker the blanket over the wheat, and the more abundant the harvest next year will be. When the exam ended, I was the last one to leave the examination room. My father, my two brothers, and Lin Mo were all very anxious, asking how I did on the exam. I deliberately teased them. What should I do? The questions were so hard. Big brother and second brother quickly comforted me, saying, don't worry. With your brain, it's already quite impressive that you can take the exam with the educated youths. Lin Mo also said, Xiaoling, it's okay, if you don't pass, I'll stay in the village with you and we'll take the exam again next year until you pass. I was deeply touched and smiled. Don't worry, the questions are tough, but I can handle them. Our efforts will definitely pay off. You silly child. My father's anxious heart finally relaxed. Even after the exams, I still went to the farm every day and worked diligently. A month later, the county called with exciting news. Both Lin Mo and I had been admitted to Tsinghua and Peking University. Even the commune sent a letter of commendation and a banner of honor. Yangshu village, surprisingly, produced 2 university students in one go. What's most remarkable is that one of them is a rural girl, Lin Mo, and I became role models for the entire commune, and even the whole county. The other educated youths in the village all failed to get in, but most of them were very close to the admission line, so no one was discouraged. They had books, and as long as they studied hard, they could take the exam again in half a year. Everyone is very confident about this. A month later, my and Lin Mo's admission notices arrived. The cafeteria specially cooked a few chickens to celebrate with us. The locals and educated youths rarely got to drink chicken soup, so everyone was very happy. Only 2 people didn't attend, Song Jiaming and Li Ping. Both of them failed and stayed indoors for days, avoiding contact with others, especially Song Jiaming, so arrogant, naturally couldn't accept the failure. As for Li Ping, she was deeply in love with Song Jiaming and was willing to accompany him every day, but to me, they are already like air. Soon, I will head to the city, while they will rot here. After dinner, Lin Mo saw me home. At the doorstep, we hugged tightly, sharing our hopes for the future. Lin Mo said excitedly, Xiaoling, I don't want to wait any longer, let's get married first. I smiled and shook my head. No, I need to finish college, find a job in the city, get a city household registration, and only then can I marry you. In the future, I want everyone to know that I got my city household registration through my own efforts, not by marrying a city-educated youth. Lin Mo said with a hint of helplessness, Xiaoling, you're so beautiful, I'm afraid that during college, many people will pursue you, and you won't value me as much. I chuckled, how could that be? You're my best partner in love, and I'll always like you. The passionate declaration made Lin Mo blush and feel reassured. He suggested, we can have the wedding in the village first, and then get the certificate in the city later. I tiptoed, kissed his forehead, and smiled. All right, you go back first, and I'll go in to ask my parents. Naughty. Lin Mo ruffled my hair and left reluctantly. I fixed my hair and prepared to enter the door. Suddenly, a male voice came from behind. Xia Xiaoling, can't have me, so desperate, can't live without a man. Huh. It was Song Jiaming, stepping out from behind a tree. I felt disgusted. Song Jiaming, what are you doing here? Also, Lin Mo and I are dating. What we do is none of your business. Song Jiaming froze. Remembering the purpose of his visit, he said stiffly, Xia Xiaoling, I know you've fallen for someone else because Lin Mo got into college, and I didn't. But now, if you give me $300, I still have a chance to go to the city. I was puzzled. $300? What do you mean? Song Jiaming explained. My parents were really disappointed when I failed the exams, but they wrote to say they've arranged a job for me as an accountant at the meat processing plant. They've scraped together almost everything, and now they just need $300 for the connection fee to secure the job and get me back to the city. Sure enough, the job buying incident from my past life has come again. I remained expressionless. So, after all that, you're just trying to buy your way into a job? Song Jiaming exclaimed excitedly. No, this is my last chance to return to the city. I sneered. Song Jiaming, you could have studied hard and gotten into university next year, but instead, you want to buy a job. In the city, jobs are like a one-to-one match. If you take someone else's position, what happens to them? Song Jiaming said angrily. The world is complicated, and everywhere is about human relationships. If I understand others, will they understand me? Besides, next year's college entrance exam will only be harder, with even more people. I have no chance anymore. Song Jiaming lowered his head and pleaded with me. Xia Xiaoling, I know your family is wealthy, and your brother works in the county. Weren't you quite fond of me before? If you lend me the money and help me return to the city, I'll date you. By the time you go to university, we can even get married. I laughed. Song Jiaming, for $300, you'd sell yourself? You're really cheap. Too bad. I don't care. I deliberately provoked him. Song Jiaming, I won't give you any money. After the new year, I'll go to the city with Lin Mo to study at Tsinghua and Peking University. In the future, we'll have great jobs, get allocated good housing, and we'll get married and live very happily, while you'll stay here forever, forever envying us. Song Jiaming's eyes turned red with anger. Enough. Xia Xiaoling, you're nothing but a money-grubbing country bumpkin. There's no way you could have gotten into college on your own. Lin Mo must have cheated for you. You only care about that, which is why you're so heartless to me. You're just a fickle, flirtatious woman. Shut up, you idiot. I couldn't hold back and slapped Song Jiaming hard. This slap carried all the anger I've accumulated over the years. Song Jiaming was knocked silly by me. Song Jiaming, all your failures are the result of your arrogance and selfishness. If you dare slander me again, I'll report you to the police and charge you with spreading rumors and falsifying information. At that moment, my parents' voices echoed from the courtyard. Xiaoling, are you outside? Why aren't you coming in yet at this late hour? Song Jiaming heard it, suppressed his temper with great effort, and left angrily. Next, as the new year approached, Yangshu village was lively every day. My parents feel particularly reluctant as I am about to go to university, and they keep nagging me every day. They were afraid I would cause trouble in the city, so they wanted Lin Mo to keep a tight rein on me. Therefore, they agreed with Lin Mo and insisted that we should hold the wedding banquet first, effectively getting married. I argued, I'm not going to run away, and Lin Mo won't change his heart. There's no need to hold the banquet so early, but my parents disagreed. You silly child. How can a girl be running around with someone without getting married first? Privately, Lin Mo also said, what our parents are doing is right, Xiaoling. Actually, I'm afraid you're too outstanding. Afraid you'll be swept away by someone else. I chuckled. You call them mom and dad so naturally. Lin Mo also smiled. Not just that, because I also want to do legally what only a husband and wife can do. Hey, I blushed instantly. Something strange happened in the village while we were preparing for our wedding. 2 educated youths went missing. One was Li Ping, and the other was Song Jiaming. This was no small matter, as incidents of educated youths secretly returning to the city occurred every year. Yangshu village is surrounded by mountains, so it would be easy to spot if an educated youth left the village. The commune leader was very angry and asked the people at the county bus station to pay special attention to any suspicious activities. But I think there are many doubts about this matter. Song Jiaming was in a hurry to return to the city because his family had arranged a job for him. However, he still needed 300 yuan to buy the job. Where did Song Jiaming get the money? I asked a few educated youths, and everyone said that Song Jiaming had indeed asked them for money. However, the educated youth's money was all spent on books, and no one lent him any. As for Li Ping, there was no news of her family arranging a job for her, so she had no reason to return to the city on her own. Soon, the bus station reported that Li Ping's whereabouts had not been found. I boldly speculate that perhaps Li Ping never returned to the city and never left the mountains. I immediately contacted my father, notified the commune, and arranged for several nearby villages and brigades to search together. Sure enough, a few days later, my sister-in-law returned to her parents' home for a visit and brought back a suspicious piece of information. It was said that in the old locust tree village dozens of miles away, there lived a bachelor in the ravine, and suddenly a wife appeared in his home. The young bride was beautiful and about the same age as Li Ping. Without hesitation, I quickly had my father contact the police to search for her in Laohui village. Sure enough, as soon as we entered the mountains, we found Li Ping. By this time, Li Ping had been beaten beyond recognition. She was disheveled, with bruises all over her face. She saw us and rushed over excitedly, as if we were family. I'm Li Ping, please help me. Song Jiqing is the one who did this to me. Li Ping cried and revealed everything. It turned out that a few nights ago, Song Jiaming invited Li Ping out and told her about a chance to return to the city. Song Jiaming said that there were 2 spots to return to the city in his family, and as long as they sneaked back, they could get jobs at the factory. Li Ping was feeling down because she didn't get into college. She had always liked Song Jiaming, and upon hearing about the chance to return to the city, she believed him without reservation. But Li Ping never expected that Song Jiaming had deceived her. As soon as they ran out of Yangshu village, Song Jiaming revealed his true nature. He knocked Li Ping unconscious, carried her to the neighboring village, took 300 yuan, and sold her to an old bachelor as a wife. When Li Ping woke up and realized she had been deceived, she fought desperately. All she got in response were threats and beatings from the old bachelor. She was truly at her wit's end, with no help in sight. Fortunately, we found her in time and saved her. The old bachelor was sentenced to prison for the rest of his life. Li Ping returned to the commune, devastated and completely shutting herself off from the world. She was deeply disappointed and felt ashamed, crying every day and nearly starving herself. Seeing her like this, the other educated youths felt equally distressed. Unable to stand it, I went to comfort Li Ping, but almost got kicked out of her room. Li Ping cried even harder when she saw me. Xia Xiaoling, my reputation, everything I had, is ruined. Go ahead, mock me, humiliate me. I'm a complete loser, and you're the ultimate winner, I calmly said. Li Ping, at least you're still alive. Do you think being mocked and humiliated by others hurts more than being beaten and bullied by that old man? Li Ping was stunned. Although rumors can kill, they won't physically harm you. Nothing could be more painful than being betrayed by someone you like and being bullied by an older man. I continued, gossip is powerful because you care too much. You're too dependent on Jiaming Song, so you can't accept being hurt by him. But in reality, he's no different from that older man or a stray dog on the street. If a dog bites you, the dog will be punished. But what about you? Do you want to live in painful memories, punishing yourself for someone else's mistakes? Li Ping froze. You mean, Song Jiaming is a dog? But the next second, she felt a surge of resentment. Xia Xiaoling, how dare you stand on your high horse and mock my vulnerability? I picked the wrong man. And you picked Lin Jiqing right. But that's just a bit more luck than me. I shook my head. I never chose any man. My only luck is that I'm a bit more open-minded than you. If it weren't for Lin Mo, would I stop studying and give up on going to college? No, because only I can change my destiny, not a man. So, Li Ping, if you want others to respect you, stand up on your own and live better than others through your own abilities. After saying that, I left the commune point. I don't know if Li Ping cried again. The next day, Li Ping left the youth camp and went to work on the farm with confidence. In her spare time from work, she borrowed many books from the other youths, started studying, and decided to take the university entrance exam again. This was a great start. A few days later, I married Lin Mo. On the day of the banquet, all the educated youths and villagers came to offer their blessings, and Li Ping was among them. She was very open and generous, presenting a gift of 20 yuan. Claiming it was sent by her parents, Li Ping's parents were already aware of her situation. The couple encouraged her to stay strong, study more, and retake the university entrance exam. I declined. Li Ping, you should keep this money to buy some books. But Li Ping shoved it into my hand. Xia Xiaoling, when you get to the city, use this money to buy a few more pieces of. Don't dress like a country bumpkin and embarrass our Yangshu village, and you just wait. Next year, I will definitely get into Tsinghua or Peking University. I accepted with a smile. Alright, little junior sister, I'll be waiting for you. After the elaborate rituals of bowing to heaven and earth, and to our parents, Lin Mo and I finally made it to the bridal chamber. Late at night, I counted the wedding gifts, and even though they were just a few dollars each, I was very happy. Lin Mo, when we get to university, we'll need to buy new bedding, stationery, pay tuition, and buy new books. Lin Mo held my hand and said, little money lover, I'll buy you whatever you want, but for now, this moment of spring night is priceless. Lin Mo gently kissed me. Just a few days after I married Lin Mo, the police officers suddenly came to our door. The police officers arrived in a police car, and the villagers, curious, gathered to watch. It was only after talking with them that I learned they were here for Song Jiaming. Originally, Song Jiaming deceived and trafficked Li Ping. And after receiving 300 yuan, he took an illegal taxi back to the city. The illegal taxi was slow, and by the time Song Jiaming arrived in the city a few days later, the matter had already been exposed, and he was being hunted nationwide. Upon learning that their son had committed a crime, Song's parents felt ashamed and couldn't hold their heads up at the factory. When Song Jiaming fled back home, his parents, in order to protect themselves, not only disowned him but also reported him to the police, leading to his arrest. Song Jiaming got his just deserts and experienced the pain of being betrayed by a close relative. Unfortunately, later on, during the transfer to prison, Song Jiaming, being cunning, managed to escape. The public security authorities worriedly said, after our investigation, Song Jiaming has nowhere to go and is very likely to have returned to Yangshu village. What? You're saying Song Jiaming is back? I was shocked. The police officer nodded. Some villagers have seen Song Jiaming hiding in the nearby mountains. Moreover, he is likely to seek revenge on the villagers, so you must be careful. With that, the police officers went to search the mountains. Hearing this, the villagers were all very uneasy. At the call of the village men, they all picked up hoes and shovels to assist the police in searching the mountains. Even my father, my brother, and Lin Mo all went up the mountain voluntarily, but no sooner had everyone left than a scream came from my kitchen. Immediately after, there was the sound of a child crying. Oh no, it's Baodan. I rushed frantically towards the kitchen. Sure enough, Song Jiaming held a knife in one hand and my little nephew in the other, glaring at me viciously. My little nephew was so scared that he burst into loud wails. Baodan, my mother and sister-in-law saw it and screamed in terror. When Song Jiaming saw us, he raged. Xia Xiaoling, don't blame me. I didn't get into college, and I'm being hunted by the police. It's all your fault. I have no way out now. You must get the police to drop the warrant, or I'll kill this child. I'd rather die with him. I was terrified. The public security officers and the men from the village are all up the mountain. No one is paying attention to this place, I hastily said. Jiaming Song, I agree to your terms. The child is innocent. Please let him down. Seeing that I had given in, Jiaming Song's mood also calmed down. He looked at me, his eyes unusually gentle. Xiaoling, I can let your nephew go, but please promise me, don't marry Lin Mo. Let's get married. Okay. I widened my eyes. Song Jiaming, do you even know what you're saying? Song Jiaming continued, lost in his own thoughts. Xiaoling, these past few days, I've been hiding and running, and I had a long dream in the mountains. I dreamed that the person dating and marrying you was me. I dreamed that you sponsored me. bought me a military coat, and that I was the one who returned to the city smoothly. I laughed. I know what he dreamed of was from a past life, but I asked him, and then, what did you dream of after returning to the city, Son Jemming? Did you take me back with you? Did we grow old together? Son Jemming fell silent. He didn't dream of those. All he dreamed of was returning to the city, getting a job at the factory, falling in love with someone else, ditching me, and hooking up with the factory owner's daughter. He dreamed again that I went to the city to reason with him, but he pushed me into the river, causing my family to fall apart. Son Jemming cried, Xiaoling, I was wrong before, I didn't cherish you. Please give me another chance. He got excited again, Xiaoling. I will never betray or hurt you like I did in my dream. I will change. I will treat you well. Next year, let's take the college entrance exam together. Okay. He wasn't gentle with his strength, and his little nephew was being squeezed painfully. My heart tightened, and I shouted, First, let my nephew go. He's innocent. I can take his place as your hostage. As soon as I said that, my mother and sister-in-law both became anxious. Xiaoling, you and Baodan must stay safe, I reassured them. Mother, sister-in-law, don't worry, I'll be fine. I raised my hands to signal to Son Jemming that I wasn't armed. I said coldly, Son Jemming, didn't you dream of marrying me? Why are you now too afraid to even come near me? Son Jemming saw that I had nothing in my hands and accepted my proposal. He let go, slowly set Baodan down, and reached out to me. Baodan let out a wail, crying as he ran towards me. Auntie, scared. I comforted Baodan, handed him to my sister-in-law, and had her cover his eyes. Then, I reached out and walked towards Son Jemming with a smile. Son Jemming also gave a fascinated smile, eagerly reaching out to me. Xiaoling, I love. With a gunshot, Son Jemming coughed up blood and fell to the ground. The one who fired the shot was a public security officer. In fact, as soon as Son Jemming caught Baodan, my little niece Baoya was hiding behind the firewood pile. I subtly signaled to Baoya to sneak up the mountain and inform the public security officers and Lin Mo. Fortunately, the public security officers arrived in time, and everything was still possible. Xiaoling, are you okay? Lin Mo held me tightly, his eyes filled with panic. My father also ran over anxiously, carrying Baoyao on his back. Don't worry, I'm fine. I comforted Lin Mo and gently tousled Baoyao's little head. Nearby, the police covered Son Jemming with a white sheet. Li Ping ran in from outside, first crying, then venting her frustration by kicking and hitting him. Son Jemming has fallen into eternal sleep. The villain was dealt with, and after a few days of gossip in the village, the matter was gradually forgotten. After the new year, when spring arrived, both Lin Mo and I were very happy, because we bid farewell to our reluctant families and boarded a train heading north. The carriage was filled with young people heading to university for registration. Everyone's faces were filled with happiness and hope for the future. To my surprise, when I arrived at the station, I saw two people holding placards with Xia Xiaoling and Lin Mo on them. Lin Mo, do you know these two comrades? These two men were dressed in military uniforms, not looking like teachers here to pick up students for registration. Lin Mo also shook his head, looking puzzled. Comrades, who are you? The two immediately saluted us. One of them said, Great, Xiaoling, Lin Mo. I've finally found you. The other said, We are security guards from the Jiuquan research base. Professor Lin and Madam Lin sent us to escort you to school. Rest assured, we've already arranged everything for you, including accommodation, tuition, and living expenses at the university. Professor Lin has also informed the school. Professor Lin, Mrs. Lin, could it be? I looked at Lin Mo in surprise. Lin Mo was extremely excited as well. He said with red eyes, They are my parents. They are both alive. Comrade, where are they now? One comrade said, Scientists' work is all confidential, and we can't reveal too much, but rest assured, the two professors were very happy to hear that Lin Mo got into university and married a college girl. Another said, Yes, in a little while, once the research project is finished and our new rocket is launched, they'll return to the capital and reunite with you. No wonder in his previous life, Lin Mo's parents only appeared years after his death, searching for their son in Yangshu village. It turns out they dedicated their entire lives to science for the sake of their country. I was moved and said, Comrades, please assure Uncle Lin and Auntie Lin that I will take good care of Lin Mo. Lin Mo, however, held my hand tightly and said, Xiaoling, it's me who should be taking care of you. The two comrades smiled with emotion, also happy for Lin Mo's parents. Next, we got into the olive green jeep. To help me better understand the capital, they took a detour to show us Chong Street and the most sacred square. Each scene brought tears to my eyes. At this moment, I have finally arrived in the capital with my own efforts and dignity. I have finally changed my own destiny, and also Lin Mo's destiny. The past, with its painful memories, has melted like ice into spring water. Flowing through our hearts, between Lin Mo and me, only love and warmth remain, and hope for the future. Story 2. I am the tragic white moonlight who died young in labor for the male lead in a youth pain literature. 3 years after my death, he got married. The wedding cost over 100 million, and he hired 10 monks to perform a ritual for me, his ex-girlfriend. May I ascend to paradise soon. So as not to delay his wedding night, when I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day he took me away. Xiao Xianya, blushing, pinned me against the wall. Ningning, come with me. I'd do anything for you. I looked at his still youthful face and smiled. I tiptoed, leaned close to his ear, and whispered softly, all right, I'll go with you if you die. 1. Consciousness returned, the smell of rotting wood gone, replaced by the scent of chalk dust, old book pages, and sunlight. I jerked my head up, the familiar classroom, desks piled high with textbooks, and the dense blackboard writing coming into view. Beside me was a boy sleeping with his arm as a pillow, his bright yellow hair standing out. Xiao Xianya, my heart felt as if it had been gripped tightly by a cold hand, stopping for a moment before pounding violently, thudding against my chest. I actually returned back to my senior year of high school. With less than a month until the college entrance exam, my fingertips trembled slightly, and I instinctively looked around. The red slogan on the wall, strive for 100 days. Fulfill dreams at Tsinghua and Peking University, caught my eye. A neatly written daily plan I made for myself was taped to the corner of the desk. In my pencil case, markers of various colors were arranged with meticulous precision. This is the 18-year-old Shen Ning, the top student in the eyes of teachers, the perfect child in the mouths of parents, well-behaved, sensible, and academically outstanding. And then later, for Xiao Xianya, she eloped, lived in a rented room, willingly gave everything, and ended up tragically dead. At the end of it all, he achieved success, married someone else, and erased every trace of my existence. Ding dong, the bell rang abruptly, startling those around. Xiao Xianya frowned and mumbled, rubbing his sleepy eyes and lifting his head, instinctively looking at me first. Seeing me sitting pale-faced, he grinned, his smile lazy from just waking up and a bit mischievous, and reached out to pinch my cheek. What's wrong, my top student? Too hard, can't solve it. I almost jerked my head away like I was electrocuted, his hand froze in midair, and the smile on his face stalled, a flicker of surprise and displeasure crossing his eyes. What, you won't even let me touch you now? I didn't speak, just ran my fingertips over the thick volume of physics competition problems. Hidden among the pages was the love letter Xiao Xianya had given me recently. Tonight, same place. He didn't pay much attention to my evasion, leaned in closer, and spoke in a low voice, his tone filled with excited temptation. I've got everything ready. The car leaves early tomorrow morning, and no one will notice. Xiao Xianya, I interrupted him, my voice a bit dry, but I managed to stay calm. He raised an eyebrow, waiting for me to continue, his eyes sparkling as if he could already see a future of freedom. I took a deep breath, pulled out the pink letter from the physics problem set, and did so without hesitation, right in front of him. Rip, the pink letter paper was neatly torn in half and then folded into tiny pieces. I clenched it tightly in my palm, feeling the sharp pain. Xiao Xinya's smile froze instantly, his pupils contracting as if witnessing something unbelievable. He grabbed my wrist with shocking force, his voice rising in a mix of shock and outraged fury. Shen Ning, are you crazy? Do you even know what the hell you're doing? The surrounding classmates were drawn by his shout, their curious gazes turning toward us. What's going on? Did Xiao Xianya and Shen Ning have a fight? What did Shen Ning tear up? A love letter? Impossible. Shen Ning is the one who loves Xiao Xianya the most. The whispers pricked my back like needles, my wrist ached from his tight grip, and the warmth reminded me of the afterlife. Seeing him carefully support the girl who resembled me, the veins on his hand and the tenderness in his eyes, nausea rose again in my throat. I tried to pull my hand back, but he held on tightly. Let go. I looked up at him, my voice turning cold. You fucking explain yourself first. His eyes were red with anger, completely ignoring the stares around us, and with a sudden force, he yanked me up from my seat. What the hell do you mean? Are you messing with me? Didn't we agree? We were supposed to leave together. What is this now? With immense strength, he ignored my struggles and half-dragged, half-pulled me toward the back corner of the classroom where cleaning supplies were stored, slamming me against the cold wall. There was a dull thud as my back hit the wall, shaking the bookshelf. My back ached from the impact, but I didn't make a sound. He loomed over me, trapping me in his shadow, his hot anger breathing down on my face. Shen Ning, he almost roared, his teeth grinding, his eyes boiling with anger, and a barely perceptible panic of betrayal. Explain yourself. What do you mean you're not going? What do you take me for? Were all those things you said just bullshit? His voice was, I could feel the gazes from all directions, curious, probing, and merely watching the spectacle. If it were the old Shen Ning, she would probably be so ashamed that she would beg him to lower his voice while crying. But now, I just coldly stared at him, at this face filled with anger and confusion. A sudden wave of extreme irony surged through the cold, barren wasteland in my heart. I even let out a soft chuckle. Xiao Xianye was taken aback by my inappropriate laugh, unconsciously loosening his grip slightly, his brows furrowed tightly. What are you laughing at? I stopped laughing and met his confused and angry gaze. The sunlight streaming from behind him cast a halo over his yellow hair, imbuing it with an illusory gentleness. I tiptoed, just as I always did when kissing him. This action made him pause, a flicker of puzzled anticipation in his eyes. As I leaned in close to his ear, I could smell the faint scent of tobacco and the warmth of sun-dried skin on him. Then, in a whisper so soft that only the two of us could hear, I said slowly, word by word, run away together. Sure. His body stiffened abruptly, and an incredulous joy flashed in his eyes, but my next words followed immediately. I'll elope with you if you die, too. Xiao Xianye's expression froze instantly, his pupils dilated, as if he couldn't believe it. You want me to die, Shen Ning? He grabbed my shoulder fiercely, his fingers digging in so hard they felt like they were about to crush my bones. His voice, hoarse and terrifying, came out through clenched teeth. What the hell did you just say? Are you messing with me? The air around seemed to freeze. Even the classmates who were whispering and watching the spectacle were stunned by this sudden development. Everyone held their breath, not daring to make a sound. This corner at the back of the classroom became a vacuum, filled only by Xiao Xianye's heavy breathing. My shoulder hurts, but I just calmly watched him, observing the shock, anger, humiliation churning in his eyes, and the barely contained savagery that was his true nature. In my previous life, this savagery had been directed at me countless times during the hardships we endured. It was only because he still felt a fresh attraction to me and that ridiculous love as a buffer that it didn't completely erupt. Now, having torn away this facade of tenderness in advance, it stands exposed in all its nakedness. Play with you. I slightly turned my head to avoid the hot breath he sprayed on my face. What do you have that's worth playing with? Are you even worthy? You want me to elope with you? Do you even have that capability? I'll take care of you. Don't you trust me? He growled, trying to overpower me with his volume and lofty promises, desperate to salvage his crumbling ego. I don't believe you, I said softly, the weight of those 4 words causing his eyes to flicker. I paused, my gaze sweeping over his tight grip on my shoulder, and said coldly, stay away from me from now on. Don't interfere with my studies. Studies? He laughed, as if hearing the biggest joke, his smile twisted with anger. It's just a few days left. What can you possibly learn? Shen Ning, don't push your luck. Who else would want someone like you? His words trailed off, but the spiteful intent to belittle me to elevate himself was laid bare before me. If it were before, I would probably be heartbroken and doubt myself. Now, I just find it laughable. I yanked myself free from his grip with a sudden burst of strength. Perhaps my words had been too shocking. Or maybe he hadn't fully recovered from the immense shock, but he actually took half a step back when I pushed him. I didn't bother looking at his twisted face again. I bent down, picked up my backpack that had fallen during the struggle, dusted it off, and turned to leave. Shen Ning, stop right there. He roared behind me, his voice filled with frantic threats. I didn't look back. My steps didn't even falter as I walked straight to my seat. I sat back down, took out a red pen from my pencil case. I unfolded the math paper with a score of 148, my eyes landing on the step that had been deducted 2 points, and began carefully recalculating and correcting. My back was straight, and my attention seemed completely immersed in the sea of problems. The entire world seemed to shrink to the faint rustling of pen on paper. I could feel that venomous gaze behind me, lingering without moving away. 3. For the next few days, Xiao Xianye indeed did not give up. He seemed stubbornly convinced that I was just having a momentary tantrum, or perhaps brainwashed by some toxic, using this extreme method to get his attention. During breaks, he would stand by my seat, trying to talk to me in that casual, carefree tone he used to use. Ning Ning, don't be mad. How about I take you to your favorite hot pot place tonight? Let's discuss that matter again. Okay, whatever you say goes. But don't say you won't go. He even tried to grab my hand. But I unceremoniously blocked him with the point of a compass. After school, he would follow behind me. Not too close, not too far, I'll walk you home, no need, Shenning. It's not safe for you to be alone, it's even less safe if you follow me. His buddies also came to persuade him, surrounding him with a playful grin. Sis-in-law, stop messing around with Brother Yi. He's almost turning into a statue waiting for his wife. Exactly. Brother Yi treats you so well. Always thinking about you. I raised my eyes and calmly looked at them. Who's your sis-in-law? If you call me that again, I'll tell the teacher you're harassing me. The few boys immediately looked awkward and scratched their noses as they left. Xiao Xianye stood not far away, his face so dark it could drip water. He started stuffing things into my hands, expensive imported chocolates, exquisitely packaged jewelry, and even the latest model MP3. These items, for someone like him who's still a small-time crook, were definitely expensive, and it's unclear where he got the money. I shared the chocolates with my deskmate, and returned the jewelry and MP3 untouched to his desk. Take it away, Shenning. What do you mean? The meaning is that you're disturbing me, and I don't accept favors without merit. His patience is clearly running out at an observable speed. The obsequiousness and feigned tenderness in his eyes gradually gave way to irritation and an unrestrained malevolence. Once, after I ignored his offer of a drink for the third time, he slammed the bottle onto the ground. There was a loud bang as the plastic bottle burst open, spraying orange soda everywhere and eliciting gasps from the entire class. His chest heaved violently, his eyes locked onto mine with a ferocious expression. I merely glanced indifferently at the mess on the floor, then picked up a tissue to wipe off the few sticky droplets that had splattered onto my exercise book. Without even wrinkling my brow, Xiao Xianye, the class monitor, couldn't help but stand up. What are you going crazy for? You almost splashed me. Get lost. Xiao Xianye didn't even look at the class monitor, just spat out the word between his teeth, his gaze still locked on me. That look was filled with obsessive possessiveness and the precursor to the madness of wanting to destroy what he couldn't have. I closed my exercise book, picked up my English textbook for the next class, stood up, skirted the stain, and walked to an empty seat on the other side of the classroom, never once giving him a glance, his fists clenched tightly at his sides, the knuckles cracking softly. I no longer paid any attention to his distractions. All the emotions he tried to impose on me, whether anger, pleading, or veiled threats, were blocked out. My world has shrunk to just the books on my desk and the countdown on the blackboard. I practice problems, memorize vocabulary, and organize my error notebooks. The efficiency is astonishing. Those that were once neglected due to being love-struck are now coming back clearly, even having died once. My mind is now free from distractions, and my thoughts are clearer and more profound than in my previous life. When the results of the mock exam came out, I not only maintained my position in the top 3 of the grade, but also scored a perfect 100 in math. The homeroom teacher praised me highly in class, saying that I have a stable mindset and am a sure candidate for Tsinghua or Peking University. The way my classmates look at me has shifted from initial curiosity about the gossip to pure admiration and envy. Only Xiao Xianye. Every time I went up to collect my exam paper and was praised by the teacher, I could feel that increasingly gloomy and cold gaze from the corner. He no longer came to find me frequently, nor did he try to give me things anymore. He just sat silently in his seat, sometimes sleeping, sometimes just staring at me with a deep, unreadable gaze. This silence is more unsettling than his previous rage, like the stillness before a storm. I know his inherent cruelty has never disappeared. It's just lying in wait, biding its time, but I am not afraid. I even secretly hoped he would do something. After all, who would the teachers believe? The good girl who only reads her books, or the troublemaker who keeps making mistakes, smoking, drinking, and fighting? Who would the teachers believe? For, the principal personally addressed the students at the final mock mobilization meeting before the college entrance exam. After the meeting, the crowd dispersed noisily, as I was walking forward. Looking down at my error notebook, my wrist was suddenly grabbed forcefully from behind. The force was so strong that it made me wince in pain instantly. Xiao Xianye forcibly dragged me to the stairwell at the end of the corridor, which was temporarily empty. Shenning, he cornered me against the wall, his voice hoarse. Have you had enough? He had a faint smell of smoke on him, and his eyes were filled with suppressed madness. I'm asking you one last time, are you coming with me or not? I looked up, meeting his gaze, and clearly and firmly uttered 2 words, not going. The last glimmer of light in his eyes faded, leaving only a terrifying blackness. He suddenly raised his hand. I thought he was going to hit me, and my body tensed up instinctively. but that hand slammed hard against the wall beside my head. Bang, a dull echo reverberated through the empty stairwell. He leaned in close, almost nose to nose, his breath hot, and I turned my head away. Fine, you're doing just fine. He stared into my eyes, speaking each word deliberately, like a curse. Shen Ning, remember this, you'll regret this. If I, Xiao Xianya, can't have it, no one else will. 5. The countdown to the college entrance exam has reached 1, and Xiao Xianya hasn't bothered me lately. Yet, I find myself inexplicably restless. Ever since I woke up this morning, my right eyelid has been twitching nonstop. My pen mindlessly scratches across the draft paper, and the formulas I write are all wrong. This feeling is all too familiar. The day I died in my previous life, I was filled with the same unease, as if something terrible was about to happen, and today, coincidentally, is the anniversary of my death in my past life. The cold rental room, the relentless hemorrhage, this scene made me feel icy cold all over. Ning Ning, what's wrong? You're looking so pale. My deskmate worriedly nudged my arm. Are you too nervous? Relax. You'll be fine. I forced a smile and shook my head. It's nothing. Maybe just didn't sleep well. His gaze unconsciously drifted to the back corner of the classroom. Xiao Xinya's seat was empty. He didn't show up all day. Yesterday, after being called in for a talk by the homeroom teacher, his face was terribly grim when he returned. He didn't bother me anymore after school, just gave me a distant look that sent a chill down my spine. Where did he go? This feeling of losing control intensified my inner unease, as the school bell rang. I packed my bag much faster than usual. The students encouraged each other, saying, "See you at the exam tomorrow," and gradually left. I took a deep breath and told myself not to scare myself. Everything in this life is different now. I'm not pregnant. I have excellent grades. My goal is Tsinghua or Peking University, and I firmly pushed Xiao Xianya away as I stepped out of the school gates. The setting sun bathed the streets in a warm golden glow, instead of taking the usual bustling main road. I turned into a quieter alley closer to home, eager to get back quickly. The alley was long, and occasionally, the sound of bicycle bells would pass by. As I reached the middle of the alley, a sudden, hurried footstep echoed behind me. My heart skipped a beat, and I turned around abruptly. A handkerchief with a pungent smell suddenly covered my mouth and nose. Ugh! A wave of immense fear gripped me instantly. I struggled with all my might, kicking and punching the person behind me. But their arms held me like a vice, their strength astonishing. A pungent smell flooded my nostrils, and my consciousness quickly blurred. The last thing I saw were Xiao Xinya's bloodshot eyes, filled with madness and despair. My head felt heavy, as if it had been struck by a sledgehammer. I opened my eyes and found myself in a completely unfamiliar place. It looked like an abandoned warehouse, with dust and mildew hanging in the air. I was bound and thrown onto the cold, stained concrete floor. Not far away, Xiao Xianya was on the phone, his back to me, his voice suppressed yet furious. Mind your own business. I can handle my own affairs. Money, I'll pay it back. 10 times the amount. Will that do? Shut up. She's different. He abruptly ended the call and slammed the phone onto the ground, shattering the screen instantly. He was gasping for breath, his shoulders heaving violently, teetering on the edge of extreme agitation and complete loss of control. I suddenly moved my numb, bound limbs, my heart racing in my chest, but my mind remained eerily clear. He turned around, saw that I was awake, his eyes flickering with complexity before being overtaken by that obsessive madness. Awake, he came over, crouched in front of me, and reached out to touch my face. I turned my head away in disgust, his hand froze in midair, and his face grew even darker. Do you hate me that much? His voice was hoarse, filled with a twisted pain. Shen Ning, what's wrong with me? Haven't I been good enough to you? Why won't you come with me? I coldly stared at him, saying nothing. There's no point arguing with a madman. My silence infuriated him completely. He grabbed my shoulders forcefully, shaking me and growling, "Speak up, are you fucking mute? Do you think you can get rid of me just because you got into college? Dream on, even if you run to the ends of the earth, you're still mine, yours." I finally spoke, my voice hoarse from the effects of the sedative, laced with sarcasm. "Xiao Xianya, what else can you do besides using such despicable tactics? Kidnapping? Is that what you call love? I was forced into this." His eyes were bloodshot. "If you had just come with me willingly, would I have needed to do this? Shen Ning, I can't wait. Tomorrow you'll be taking the exam, and once you pass, you'll leave. I can't let you leave me." He was rambling incoherently, his logic all over the place, completely lost in his own paranoid world. "Do you know this is a crime?" I tried to awaken a shred of reason in him. "A crime?" He chuckled as if he had heard something funny. What do I have to fear from crime, at most? I'll bow my head to my dad, admit my mistake, and what can't be resolved. This sentence, like a bolt of lightning, instantly cleared the fog in my mind. Bowing my head, apologizing, can't handle anything. In my previous life, during a difficult childbirth, I was bleeding profusely in the rental room, my consciousness blurred from the pain, and I clutched his hand, begging him to take me to the hospital. Yet he was in a frenzy because he had no money. So much so that he didn't even dare to call home for help, all because of that ridiculous pride, afraid of being ridiculed by his family. So, it wasn't impossible after all. All he had to do was bow his head, admit his mistake, and he could easily get the money to save his life. But he didn't. For the sake of his pitiful pride, he watched me die bit by bit in despair and pain. A surge of immense resentment and icy despair engulfed me in an instant, as if my blood had frozen at that very moment. I bit down hard on my lower lip until the metallic taste of blood filled my mouth, barely suppressing the scream and cry that threatened to burst out. My body uncontrollably began to tremble, and the hatred in my eyes seemed almost tangible, ready to burn through him. Xiao Xianya felt a chill from my gaze, but more than that, he was infuriated. What kind of look is that, Xiao Xianya? I heard my voice trembling, yet unusually cold. Your family is very wealthy, isn't it? He froze for a moment, his eyes flickering, as if he hadn't expected me to suddenly ask this, and he instinctively denied. What are you talking about, isn't it? I interrupted him, each word like it was pulled from an ice cellar. Isn't it just a matter of bowing your head and apologizing to your father to fix anything, including kidnapping? He remained expressionless, looking down at me. Yeah, it's just a word from my dad, you guessed right. As expected, in my past life, until my death. I thought he was just a penniless young man with nothing but a heart full of reckless courage. Who would have thought he was actually a young master from some family, sent out to experience the hardships of the world? How ridiculous. I was a complete fool, acting out a tragic drama with him, and even paid for it with my life. Just then, outside the warehouse, a piercing police siren suddenly blared, approaching rapidly. It quickly surrounded the area. Attention inside, you are surrounded. Release the hostage immediately, the authoritative voice of the loudspeaker boomed. Xiao Xianya froze abruptly, his crazed expression instantly replaced by shock. He looked incredulously towards the warehouse door, then turned sharply back to me. You called the police, he exclaimed, his eyes filled with shock at the betrayal and a hint of panic. When did you? I coldly stared at him. Fortunately, being reborn, I had gained an extra layer of vigilance, from the moment I left the school gate. I had set up an emergency police call shortcut. The instant the police broke in, Xiao Xianya was swiftly subdued and handcuffed. He struggled, turning back to glare at me, his eyes filled with resentment and fury. Ning, just you wait, I'm not letting this go. His roar was cut off by the closing police car door. Wrapped in a blanket handed to me by the police, I sat in the police car giving a statement, my body still trembling slightly, not out of fear, but anger and lingering dread. I knew this wasn't going to be the end of it. Sure enough, within less than 24 hours, I heard that Xiao Xianya had been picked up by someone from his family. The so-called kidnapping was ultimately classified as an excessive act of emotional dispute among teenagers, and didn't even leave a record. The Xiao family, stronger than I imagined, gripping my fingers tightly, I watched the scenery outside the car window fly by. 6. The college entrance exam ended quickly, and I walked out of the exam hall. Watching the bustling traffic on the street, I felt a surreal sense of living in a dream. The results came out, and as expected, they were enough for me to step into that top-tier university of my dreams. When filling out my college applications, I chose a prestigious university in the capital far from the influence of the Xiao family, military engineering, the field I love and that can protect me. I worked at a chain coffee shop throughout the entire holiday. Being busy helps you forget a lot of things. It was there that I met Zhou Yuan. He was a student from the nearby university town, often coming to the shop for an Americano, sitting by the window to read or type away on his laptop. He was quiet, with gentle eyes and a smile that slightly drooped at the corners, giving off a non-threatening and comfortable vibe. Once, I was in a fluster and accidentally knocked over the milk jug, scalding the back of my hand. He quickly handed me clean tissues and ice water, speaking in a gentle tone to remind me to rinse with cold water first. Later, when he came again, we would occasionally chat about the weather, the books he was reading, and university life. When he learned that I was about to go to Beijing for university, his eyes lit up and he smiled, saying, "What a coincidence, I'm also at that school. I'll be a sophomore majoring in computer science. Looks like I'll occasionally run into you on campus." Junior, His tone was relaxed and natural, with just the right amount of surprise, not overwhelming at all. I smiled, not taking it too seriously. The shadow Xiao Xianya cast was so deep that I instinctively kept my distance from any approaching men, but undeniably, spending time with Zhou Yuan was a rare, gentle respite during that tense period. He didn't intrude too much, maintaining a comfortable sense of boundaries. Occasionally, he would send me some photos of the school's scenery on social media or share some tips for new students. I would reply politely, but that's all. The start of school, a new environment, a new life, the shimmering waves of Weiming Lake, the scent of ink in the library, the sparks of intellectual collision in lectures, all of it made me feel as if I had traveled back in time. I worked hard at my studies, joined clubs, ran for class positions, like a sponge, desperately absorbing knowledge and strength, trying to completely overwrite the past with a fulfilling reality. Despite being somewhat attractive, I did have a few suitors, but strangely, within a few days, they all avoided me like a snake, except for Zhou Yuan. He did go to the same school as me, and since our college had a collaborative project with the computer science department, we would occasionally run into each other in the classroom buildings or the cafeteria. He would smile and greet me, sometimes even casually saving a seat for me at the library, and offer technical advice when we faced difficulties in group projects. Calm, gentle, like a cup of water at just the right temperature. I could sense his subtle affection, but I never reciprocated. The icy defenses in my heart have never truly been lifted. A year slipped by quietly amidst the hustle and calm. The name Xiao Xianya seems to have completely vanished from my world. Occasionally, I wake up in a cold sweat from a midnight dream, but seeing the familiar ceiling of my dorm room slowly calms my heart. I almost believed I had truly escaped that nightmare, until that autumn evening. I had just stepped out of the library, clutching a stack of books, thinking about attending a lecture by a top expert tonight. A black Bentley Mulsanne pulled up silently beside me. The car window slowly rolled down. A familiar yet unfamiliar profile came into view. The short hair remained neat, but it was no longer the striking yellow. Instead, it was a steady black, wearing a well-tailored black suit, with a neatly pressed white shirt inside, the collar impeccably in place. The profile of his face has become more angular, shedding his youthful innocence, leaving only the sharp contours of a mature man. He slowly turned his head, his gaze locking onto me with precision. Those eyes, no longer filled with bloodshot madness and despair, were now like an unfathomable deep pool, calm yet exuding a cold, dominating pressure. Xiao Xianya, my blood seemed to freeze in an instant, and my fingers clutching the book tightened unconsciously, turning white at the knuckles. He pushed open the car door and stepped out. His height seemed even more imposing than before, and the shadow he cast standing in front of me almost completely enveloped me. He carried a subtle, crisp woody scent, replacing the faint smell of tobacco and sweat I remembered. Long time no see, Shen Ning, he said, his voice deep and rich, his eyes fixed on me like a serpent sliding over my skin, cold and sticky. It seems you've been doing well this past year. I forced myself to stand firm, meeting his fathomless eyes, my voice as steady as I could make it. Why are you here? Why shouldn't I be here? He said with a slight curl of his lips, the smile devoid of warmth, only a condescending scrutiny. In Beijing, the Xiao family has plenty of businesses. Isn't it normal for me, as the heir, to check on our own assets, investment? I frowned, my unease rapidly growing. Why don't you guess? He stepped forward, his imposing presence almost took my breath away. Where have all your suitors gone? My brain buzzed, as if struck by a heavy hammer. He's been spying on me all along. You, trembling with immense anger and humiliation, I shouted, what exactly do you want? What do I want? He chuckled softly, reaching out with his cold fingertips almost touching my cheek, but I jerked away. He didn't seem to mind, slowly retracting his hand, but his gaze was like a cold shackle, firmly locking onto me. A year ago, you left in that manner, and I was not pleased. Shen Ning, the things I desire have never escaped my grasp. His tone was calm, yet carried an undeniable, absolute mastery that bordered on cruelty. You think changing locations and clothes can get rid of me? He leaned in closer, his cold breath brushing against my ear. Don't be naive. I was too foolish before, always trying to appeal to emotions. Now I realize there are things far more effective than emotions, like power. The last two words, spoken so softly, pierced my heart like a venom-tipped needle. Just then, Zhou Yuan emerged from another door of the library, saw me, and with a gentle smile, quickly walked over. Shen Ning, haven't you gone to the lecture yet? Shall we go together? His words came to an abrupt halt, because he saw the intimidating Xiao Xianya in front of me, and my ashen face, Xiao Xianye slowly straightened up, his gaze casually sweeping over Zhou Yuan, as if he were looking at an insignificant object, even with a hint of contemptuous amusement. "Who's this?" he asked in a flat tone, yet with a masterful scrutiny. Zhou Yuan felt slightly uncomfortable under his gaze but maintained his politeness. "I'm Shen Ning's classmate, and you are?" Xiao Xianye didn't answer, only returning his gaze to my face, his lips curling into a cold smile. "Looks like you haven't been idle this past year." He took out his phone, casually swiped a few times, and then turned the screen towards Zhou Yuan. I saw Zhou Yuan's face turn pale in an instant, his pupils constricting, his lips trembling, as if he had seen something extremely terrifying. Xiao Xianye put his phone away, speaking in a calm tone, offering a friendly reminder. "Zhou. A computer science major, talented in programming, with multiple awards, and planning to apply for a Stanford exchange program. You have a bright future ahead, as long as you don't mess with the wrong people." Zhou Yuan's complexion turned from pale to a sickly green, and fine beads of sweat even began to form on his temples. He suddenly looked at me, his eyes filled with panic, confusion, and a barely concealed sense of retreat and guilt. He didn't even dare to glance at Xiao Xianye again, his lips quivering slightly before he ultimately said nothing, almost stumbling as he hurried away without looking back. The autumn wind swept up fallen leaves, swirling them into the cold air between us. As I watched Zhou Yuan's almost panicked retreat, the last faint glimmer of hope in my heart was completely extinguished. "Look, Shen Ning, this is reality." Xiao Xianye watched all this with satisfaction. As if brushing away an annoying speck of dust, his gaze fell back on me, his deep eyes revealing a nearly cruel determination and possessiveness. "Now, the obstacle is gone, Shen Ning, let's take it slow." 7. He began to openly interfere in my life. First, my roommate was switched for various reasons, and eventually, I was assigned to a corner dorm that was almost uninhabited. Then, rumors about me being materialistic, kept by someone, and obsessing over rich second-generation heirs for money began to spread like wildfire across campus, with vivid details. Once friendly classmates now looked at me with suspicion, pointing fingers behind my back. I tried to explain, but no one believed me, or rather, no one dared to believe me. Xiao Xinye's name itself is an invisible deterrent. He even kindly appeared in front of me, speaking in a helpless yet indulgent tone in front of everyone. "Ning, don't be sulky, come back with me, you can have whatever you want." This solidified my image as money-grubbing and insatiable. All my part-time jobs were sabotaged in various ways. The cafe owner, under pressure, politely let me go without even daring to settle my final wages. All my applications for grants and scholarships were rejected without exception, with the reasons being incredibly varied. What was even more devastating was that right before an important professional exam, my study materials and notes disappeared, only to be replaced by cheat sheets found in my desk. Despite the lack of direct evidence, I was disqualified from that exam and received a disciplinary record. The professors looked at me with pity and a hint of disapproval, as if saying, "This child has gone astray, every time." I could feel those cold hands pulling the strings behind the scenes. He didn't directly harm me, but gradually clipped my wings, squeezed my space, trying to suffocate me, make me submit, and make me realize that without him, I couldn't move an inch. My classmates gradually distanced themselves from me, their looks now filled with curiosity and wariness, as if I were some kind of trouble they couldn't afford to get involved with. I gritted my teeth and poured even more of my time and energy into studying with wild abandon, especially the top-secret project team I accidentally joined, led by a national treasure-level senior professor. The team's research field was highly sensitive, involving a cutting-edge theoretical module of the country's deep strategic weapons. My entry into this group was purely by chance, as a modest idea in a course paper I wrote during my freshman year caught the eye of this unconventional professor who values talent. Here, it became my only refuge. The lab has the strictest security and confidentiality regulations, and no matter how far Xiao Xinye's reach is, he cannot penetrate the core area for now. But I underestimated his madness and the power of the Xiao family. During my junior year, the project entered the most critical theoretical verification stage. Xiao Xinye seemed to have lost his last shred of patience. A meticulously planned accusation of academic misconduct suddenly descended. Anonymous individuals submitted several forged documents that appeared to be ironclad evidence to the school's disciplinary committee and the project team, accusing me of stealing results and fabricating data, with a fierce and harsh tone. Although the senior professor vouched for me and the core members of the project team knew me well, Under the pressure of conclusive evidence and unidentified high-level influences, the school decided to suspend me for investigation to minimize the impact. I was effectively expelled from the lab and campus. On that rainy day, I dragged my suitcase out of the school gate, where a black Bentley was already waiting. Xiao Xianye stood by the car, holding a black umbrella, impeccably dressed in a suit. He looked at my disheveled state with no expression. Only a cold indifference that exuded control over everything. He dragged me into the car against my will, and everyone around looked the other way. I was roughly brought into a lavishly decorated yet icy cold room. Xiao Xianye loosened his tie, his face no longer showing the rage of a young man, but a more chilling and controlling demeanor that had settled in. Shen Ning, you never learn, do you? Only when I use this method will you stay by my side obediently. I leaned against the cold marble wall, my stomach churning. He chuckled softly, approaching slowly, his fingertips almost brushing my cheek before I slapped them away. He didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled, a cold, mocking smile that felt more like a cat playing with a mouse. Last time I was careless, and you took advantage. Not this time. This place is safe enough for us to cultivate our relationship properly. He emphasized the words cultivate feelings deliberately, sending a chill up my spine. For the next few days, I was held captive in this luxurious cage. The windows were sealed shut, and there was always someone guarding the door. Xiao Xianye didn't always appear, but he came every week, each time with an air of scrutiny and anticipation, as if waiting for me to break down and submit. I silently resisted, searching for an opportunity to escape, my heart burning with anxiety but showing no trace of it, until the third night, he came in again. Opening it revealed not jewelry, but a small syringe and a vial of clear liquid. My heart skipped a beat, and an ominous feeling gripped me instantly. You've been sleeping poorly lately, stressed out. He calmly picked up the syringe, skillfully drew the liquid from the bottle, and the needle released tiny bubbles, glinting with a cold light. This will help you relax. It's a good thing, something many people would beg for. Take it away, I shouted, backing up and slamming my back against the wall, with no way out. Xianye Xiao, you wouldn't dare. Why wouldn't I dare? He closed in step by step, his eyes filled with wild possessiveness and a twisted affection. Ning, you're too stubborn, always refusing my kindness. It would make you feel better. It would show you who truly cares for you and can give you everything you need. Get away, don't touch me. I struggled with all my might. But the anxiety and lack of food over the past few days had left me weak, easily overpowered by the maid he brought, who pinned my arms down. Despair and fear washed over me like icy water. It'll be over soon, no pain. He brushed away the sweat-soaked hair from my forehead, his movements almost tender, then wiped my arm with a cold alcohol swab. In the next second, a sharp pain shot through me, the needle ruthlessly pierced the vein, and the cold liquid was slowly injected into my body. I stopped struggling, my pupils dilating in extreme fear. He pulled out the needle, signaling the maid to release me. I collapsed to the ground, futilely trying to squeeze the puncture wound, as if that could somehow extract what had already entered my blood. A strange sensation began to spread. After the initial chill, a floaty warmth followed, and the taut nerves seemed to truly relax. A false, ephemeral sense of comfort enveloped me, temporarily pushing away the fear and anxiety in my mind. But reason was screaming madly. I could only struggle to resist this feeling. Xiao Xianye crouched down, satisfied as he watched the uncontrollable, dazed and relaxed expression on my face, his fingertips brushing across my cheek. See, isn't it better now? His voice came from far away, laced with temptation. Don't be afraid, whenever you need it, I'll give it to you, as long as you stay by my side obediently. You bastard. I managed to curse, only to find that even the strength to be angry was slipping away, my voice soft and weak. He chuckled softly, as if hearing some amusing love words. Go ahead and curse, soon you'll realize that only I can give you this kind of pleasure, and you'll be unable to live without it, or without me. The days that followed became an endless cycle. That substance was regularly injected into my body. Each act of resistance resulted in an even more forced injection, and after each injection, the false sense of pleasure and relief only deepened my fear. My body is shamefully adapting to it, even craving it. When I'm sober, I loathe my own weakness and desperately think of escape. But when the first signs of withdrawal appear, the palpitations, cold sweats, uncontrollable anxiety, and cravings hit, Xiao Xianye and the syringe in his hand become irresistible temptations. He relished the process, savoring my gradually crumbling will and the unconcealed struggle and dependence in my eyes. Look, how perfectly we fit, he said, stroking my hair after an injection. gazing at my drug-induced vacant eyes, his tone dripping with a sickening sense of satisfaction. You are mine, inside and out. After all, I had lost all sense of time, not knowing how long it had been. Day after day, I was on the verge of collapse. I began to doubt myself. Was I really that bad? Was I really unable to leave him? Was my resistance truly meaningless? Even occasionally, under his feigned tenderness, a twisted sense of dependency would arise, only to be engulfed by overwhelming self-loathing. I stared at the mirror in the bathroom, looking at the hollow-eyed, pale, and emaciated woman inside, feeling an overwhelming sense of strangeness and despair. Thoughts of suicide clung to me like a parasite, constantly gnawing at my mind. 8. Just as I was on the verge of despair, a black sedan with a special military license plate came to a sudden, almost aggressive stop in front of the Bentley. 2 men in civilian clothes, yet with a straight posture and sharp eyes, quickly got out of the car and immediately showed their credentials. State Security Department. Comrade Shen Ning is involved in a critical national project and needs to return with us immediately to assist in the investigation. One of them spoke in a cold, hard tone, his gaze like lightning sweeping over Xiao Xianya. Unrelated personnel, please leave immediately. Xiao Xianya's face showed the first signs of cracks. He clearly hadn't expected an unexpected obstacle, and one of such magnitude. He tried to negotiate. I am her. We don't care who you are. Another man cut him off bluntly, his hand already on his waist, exuding a commanding presence. We're taking her away. Any obstruction will be treated as obstructing official business. Xiao Xianya's gaze was terrifyingly dark, as he stared at me intently and then glanced at the 2 formidable security officers. In the end, he said nothing, watching as I was taken away, his eyes glinting with a sinister promise that this wasn't over. I followed the 2 men into the car almost in a daze. I didn't know if this was another trap, but either way, it was better than falling into Xiao Xianya's hands. I was taken to a heavily guarded base. It turned out that the project team I was part of was far more important than I had imagined. The critical theoretical model I proposed was proven to have groundbreaking value at the last moment, directly solving a bottleneck that had plagued the team for years. The old professor was furious upon learning that I had been suspended and immediately activated the highest level of emergency reporting channel. My allegations of academic misconduct were swiftly and thoroughly investigated with the involvement of national-level forces, and the truth soon came to light, crushing all false accusations. The pressure exerted by the Xiao family seemed laughably feeble in the face of true national will. After prolonged mental strain, I suddenly passed out when the tension eased. When I regained some consciousness, I found myself in a completely unfamiliar place. It wasn't a hospital, but a solemn expanse of white, with the air thick with the scent of disinfectant and a stifling sense of calm. My wrist was secured to the bed with soft restraints to prevent me from harming myself. You're awake, said a female doctor in a white uniform, her expression calm to the point of severity, standing by the bed. This is a confidential quarantine unit. Comrade Shen Ning, you're safe now, but the road ahead will be very difficult. Hard. I managed a wry smile through the struggle. Is there anything harder than being in hell? Soon, I learned what true hell really meant. The first peak of withdrawal hit me like a tsunami, completely overwhelming me. It wasn't just pain. It was a collection of thousands of different kinds of pain. Every muscle screamed, tore, and twitched, as if shards of ice had been poured into the joints and then roasted over a fire. Cold sweat instantly soaked through the clothes, only to quickly turn into a chilling tremor. The intense stomach pain and nausea made me curl up, but I couldn't vomit anything. Just bile and acid kept rising. The vision is blurred, with a constant buzzing in my ears and uncontrollable, painful moans and even screams. What's most terrifying is that psychological craving. It feels like countless hands are clawing at my heart and brain, with a voice screaming frantically that just a little, even just a tiny bit, would instantly free me from this endless sea of suffering. Xiao Xianya's face, the cold gleam of the syringe, keeps flashing before my eyes, tempting and mocking. Kill me, give me, please. My consciousness was fading, tears and snot streaming down my face as I begged without dignity, banging my head against the soft mattress, my wrists red and raw from the restraints. The doctors and nurses held me down emotionlessly, injecting me with sedatives and symptom-relieving drugs, but compared to the extreme pain brought by heroin, it was almost like trying to put out a fire with a cup of water. Get through it, Shen Ning, you have to get through it yourself. The female doctor's voice pierced through my chaos, cold and firm. No one can do it for you. Think about why you're here. Think about what you need to do. Why? What should I do? In the chaos of my mind, flashes of Xiao Shanya's twisted smile, the coldness and despair on the delivery bed in my previous life, and the absurd scene of 10 monks chanting for me not to delay his wedding night. Hatred, the deep-rooted hatred almost erased by the drugs, like a sharp needle, suddenly pierced through the heavy fog, bringing a brief moment of clarity. Ah! I let out a howl that sounded inhuman, no longer pleading, but using all my strength to resist the physiological torrent that sought to destroy my will. Just as one wave subsides, another rises. Withdrawal symptoms don't come on continuously, they hit in waves. Just when you think you've weathered the worst, another, more intense wave is brewing. Day and night, I was tossed about in this extreme agony. I rapidly withered away, as if all my vitality had been drained. The intervals of clarity grew fewer and farther between. Besides the physical pain, the mental collapse was equally fatal. Long controlled by drugs and brainwashed by Xiao Shanya's PUA tactics, my nervous system became extremely fragile. Anxiety, depression, hallucinations, paranoia, various mental symptoms appear in turn. At times, I feel so depressed that I just want to die, and at other times, I experience sudden panic attacks with intense suffocation. Sometimes I feel as if Xiao Shanya is standing outside the window watching me, and other times I think the doctors and nurses are sent by him to harm me. The psychologist comes every day, patiently guiding me to rebuild my shattered cognition. That's not happiness, it's a trap. What he feels for you isn't love, it's control and destruction. Your worth doesn't need to be defined by him. You are brave, and you are creating miracles. These words, at my darkest moments, I couldn't hear a single one, but in those rare clear moments, they were like faint lights, gradually piercing through the pitch black of my mind. The recovery process is long and painful. Sometimes I feel a bit better, but the next moment I might break down emotionally due to a tiny trigger, and the craving comes back with a vengeance. Vomiting, diarrhea, insomnia, and excruciating muscle pain persisted for weeks before gradually easing. I started attending courses and group therapy at the rehab center, seeing others who were emaciated and had lost everything due to drugs, and hearing their stories. I realized just how close I had come to complete destruction. My body is gradually recovering, but the wounds of the heart take much longer to heal. I have a physiological fear of that white powder and the syringe, yet I still harbor a morbid craving. I fear crowds, I fear trust, and I often wake up from nightmares at night, where Xiao Shanya and that villa haunt my dreams. But I survived. The past few months here felt like rolling through every level of hell. I shed a layer of skin, clawing my way out of the filthiest mud, driven by hatred and the last bit of unwillingness. When I finally managed to steadily walk out of the quarantine zone and stand in the sunlight, the female doctor looked at me and finally revealed a faint smile. Congratulations, Comrade Shenning. You have passed the toughest test and gained a new life. I know, the pain Xiao Shanya has caused me, I will repay him tenfold, 100-fold. 9. After that, I joined that project. It felt like I had entered a fortress cut off from the world. Here, it's all about research, data, and a group of exceptionally intelligent colleagues who are fully focused. All my talents and accumulated knowledge are being fully utilized on this platform. I have no idea how much time has passed outside. One day, the project achieved a milestone success. At the celebration banquet, a senior officer with stars on his shoulders personally awarded me a medal and certificate. He looked at me, his gaze filled with appreciation and a hint of complexity. Comrade Shen Ning, you have made a great contribution to the country. However, as a result, you have become a target for certain forces, to protect you and the safety of your work. It has been decided that your identity will be classified at the highest level of secrecy, and you will be provided with a new identity and position. You will need to temporarily bid farewell to your past life. I understand. This means that Xiao Shanya, and the entire Xiao family, will no longer be able to easily contact Shen Ning again. I went from being an ordinary student they could easily manipulate to an important researcher protected by national power, with certain privileges. Investigating the Xiao family became a piece of cake. Drug trafficking, tax evasion, human trafficking, everything the Xiao family did was darker than I had imagined. The Xiao family's case was handled with lightning speed due to solid evidence and its special source, leaving almost no room for maneuver. The Xiao family has fallen. Xiao Zongya was sentenced to a heavy term and sent to a highly secure prison known for housing serious offenders and special individuals. The once powerful Xiao family heir has lost all his glory and protection here. His pride and arrogance were no match for absolute violence. On his first day in prison, he was brutally taught a lesson by the seasoned inmates in his cell for not knowing the rules, losing all his slightly better belongings and being assigned the dirtiest, most exhausting tasks. Any attempt to resist only resulted in even harsher beatings. The prison guards turned a blind eye, as long as no one was killed. His once prized appearance quickly deteriorated, with dark circles and fear permanently etched in his eyes. Eyes that once looked down on others with disdain now only dared to stare at the ground, avoiding any possible eye contact. The physical torment is just one aspect. The withdrawal symptoms from drugs erupted violently after he was imprisoned, but without the relatively humane management and medication relief provided in the detox center, he could only curl up on the cold, hard bed, scream, convulse, enduring the excruciating pain akin to having his bones scraped, losing control of his bowels and bladder, and all dignity. The other prisoners just watched coldly, even taking pleasure in it. Hey, Shao the big shot, isn't everything supposed to be bought with money? How does it feel now? Mockery and teasing were commonplace. The mental torment was even worse. He had fallen from the pinnacle to the depths, transforming from a tormentor into a complete victim. The immense psychological gap and constant fear nearly drove him insane. He began to experience hallucinations, always feeling like someone was watching him from the shadows, and that some terrible torment would strike at any moment. He tried to contact the outside world, but all his letters and calls went unanswered. He had no idea that all his communications were being silently monitored and filtered by a higher authority. Any information that might have offered a glimmer of help was precisely intercepted. He was completely without hope. An accident occurred during labor in the prison factory. A malfunctioning machine slammed heavily onto his right hand. Although timely treatment was provided, several fingers were completely crushed, and even though they were eventually reattached, they permanently lost their flexibility, leaving severe disability and lifelong excruciating pain. The hand that once signed billion-dollar contracts, touched countless luxury items, and forcibly injected me with drugs is now crippled. The investigation naturally concluded it was an accidental operational error. As for whether someone acted out of old grudges or following some untraceable directive, it remains unknown. After this ordeal, he became even more silent and gloomy, like a bird that startles at the slightest noise. Completely losing all his sharpness and vitality, his body collapsed, and his spirit was on the verge of breaking down. A few years later, the Shao family disintegrated entirely, their assets divided, and family members scattered. No one remembered him, the heir who had rotted away in prison. Years later, due to his good behavior in prison and the severe deterioration of his physical and mental health, which was assessed as no longer posing a social threat, he was transferred to a slightly better equipped but medically under-resourced psychiatric prison for offenders. There, he spent his days curled up in a corner, staring blankly at the small patch of sky outside the iron window, occasionally mumbling fragmented words unconsciously. Ning ning, I was wrong, my hand hurts, let me go. No one understood, and no one cared. He was like a rotting log with a faint breath, decaying and stinking day after day in a forgotten corner.